Sorry, guys. I'm here. I got distracted by a moron on Twitter. That's my bad. My bad. Hi, everyone. Still not late. It's impossible for me to be late, but I kept you waiting, and that was not my intention. Hi, hope you're well. I'm Monkey. This is Monkey in the Morning. I hope Jack will be around soon, but if not, don't worry. We have company for the evening in the form of Joseph Biden. Oh, it hurts. It hurts so much. I don't know how much of this we're going to watch. We're going to try to watch a lot of it. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to do it just because it makes my job so much easier. But before we get into that, we have a couple of other things I want to talk about. Okay, I got to get rid of that idiot. I can't deal with him right now. I have other idiots to deal with. First up on our list of things I want to talk about before we get into the main topic of Joe Biden being a potato is I make myself laugh. That's all that I need. Is this story out of I believe it's Palm Springs. I'm not going to show you the video because, well, it's the aftermath of a bombing. There was a bombing in Palm Springs today. How many of you guys heard about it? How many of y'all heard about it? An abortion clinic was blown up. No, wait, no. If it was an abortion clinic, it'd be all over the news, and every politician, including the conservatives, would be out going, "Oh my God, I can't believe somebody did this." No, it was a fertility clinic. It was a fertility clinic that got blew up, and barely anybody's saying anything about it. There's no, hey, what about women's health? And there's a report, a local news station reported this. I don't know if it has since been confirmed or not, but they claim that a police source told them that the guy who did it because he doesn't believe that you should be allowed to have children without their consent. You shouldn't be able to bring kids into the world without their consent. I don't even know how to deal with that level of stupid. Um, how do you, how do you get consent from a sperm and an egg? I a logical impossibility. Yeah, no shit. No shit. Sorry, guys. My internet, you know how it is. I think I heard I really should check. Do I have a storm moving in? That'll piss me off if I do. Because I got a lot to watch tonight, and most of it's going to be audio, so we could switch to my other internet if we have to. Ba, 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 ba. Let's see, what's it looking like for the night? No, it looks pretty clear. Okay, so hopefully we don't have much of an issue. But anyway, so yeah, this their whole thing is nonsensical. You can't get permission from a baby even once they're born for anything because they're babies. But he thinks you should get permission from them before you even conceive them. So he blew up a fertility clinic, put a huge chunk in the wall. If I remember correctly, it killed one person or severely injured one person, injured several people. But nobody done it. No major politicians are out there going, "Oh my God, can you believe? Can you believe that this happened? That they harmed a place where women go for their reproductive health? This is an actual reproductive health center. They do IVF and other fertility treatments. And this motherfucker tried blowing it up, and there's not even whispers. It's not even just silence. Ah, fucking assholes. Anyway, I just hate the hypocrisy of that. Look, I don't think blowing up abortion clinics is fine, but we've broke First Amendment laws to be able to go into an abortion clinic without anybody having an opinion near you. And a fucking fertility place gets bombed and nothing. It's just like a couple of years ago when you had this happening. What was it, in 2024? Maybe it was late 2023, where you had actual family planning clinics, places where they're like, "Hey, You don't have to kill your baby. Come here. We'll teach you how to deal with this shit. And they were getting bombed. And what the politicians say? Nothing. What the media say? Nothing. They didn't pay any goddamn attention to it. Oh, but let somebody even say, hey, you shouldn't abort people. And listen to them all come out of the woodwork to tell you why it's so important to kill babies. Oh, I fucking hate these people. All right, next up, the Mexican Navy. This one is just kind of funny. Um, if some people some people were hurt, but at least according to Mayor Eric Adams, nobody was too hurt, I guess is the way I want to say this. Why is that so small? Oh, because I accidentally clicked on. No, that's not it either. Oh, hang on a second, guys. I need to resize my screen a little bit. There we go. It's a little better. So this in the background over here is a Mexican naval vessel. I I've yet to understand if this is part of the official Mexican Navy because it says Mexican naval vessel that was here for training. That's a ship with masts. Are they still is the Mexican Navy still using old clippers and shit? Is that their Navy? But anyway, that's the Brooklyn Bridge overhead. And as you might be able to tell just from right here, that boat is not going to clear the bridge.
She's about to crash. Oh, shit.
Yep, there goes the main mast getting knocked the fucking half. And the boat is coming to hit the fucking ground. Whoopsie. They hit the little pier there. Oh my god. Nobody was killed. Everybody, there were reports that people had fallen off, but that has been, at least according to the press conference, that was not true. There were 277 people on board. 4 of them are basically, I think it was 4 is the number, they're beat up pretty bad, but not life-threatening. The one of the reporters specifically asked if there were any life-threatening injuries, and Eric Adams, he danced around it, but he basically said, no, there's just serious injuries. Doesn't the U.S. still have sail ships for training? For training? I don't think we use them for training. I know we have some for like display purposes and that kind of stuff, but I don't think do we actually use them for training? What do you train with on a ship with sail rigs and shit that is in any way relevant to the modern Navy? I'll take your word for it if you say yes, but all the ones I've ever seen are just there for like show. But anyway, moving along. Again, nobody hurt. I am curious why the people on that pier, why it took them so long to start running. You guys do understand that unless you're talking about a speedboat, and even then, you need a wide berth. But these things don't turn on a dime. These things fucking monkey. I've been aboard that ship. Thankfully, you weren't tonight, Donald. The USS Never Sail isn't actually a sailboat. Is that a real boat? The Coast Guard? Does the Coast Guard use old style clippers and shit? The Queen's Navy? Anyway. Thank you, Jeff. A rare coach. A rare catch. Okay, I'm gonna fuck this all up because this is orange and it's hard for me to see the words. So please bear with me. A rare catch of your show live. Here's some money to compensate for the pain of listening to a potato give testimony. Thanks for the stream as always. Thank you so much for tuning in and for the donation. I appreciate it. I really do. All right, and finally, before we get into the aforementioned potato, we have to watch a slightly different potato. This is Adam Conover. I don't know why I want to call him Conifer. I was doing that in my head earlier. I'm like, no, it's Conover. This is the guy that used to do the show Adam destroys everything, or what was it called? Something stupid like that. And my only real interaction with that was when he did the video on alpha males. I made a response video to it. And it is the one time that I had a video back then that somebody copyright claimed, CES copyright claimed it. And I challenged it and they let it go the full. So the way a copyright challenge goes, you challenge it and they have 30 days to respond yes or no. And if they don't respond at all, then it just, the copyright claim falls off. Adam ruins everything. Thank you. And so they let it go the full 30 days, dirty shits. But I've seen Adam a few other times and I've never been impressed with his intelligence. But he's on Timmy Pool's show, speaking of not impressed with their intelligence, and they have this exchange.
Donald Trump dumped food into a fish pond after Shinzo Abe did. Why are you trying to make that a negative story?
Know what that
it was like it's all of these hoaxes. The Very Fine People hoax.
I mean, I remember the line. Yeah,
Trump never called Nazis fine people.
He said there were very fine people on both sides,
except the neo-Nazis and white nationalists who should be condemned totally.
He said that.
Holy shit.
He said that. Now, look, I don't know if Adam himself specifically has ever commented on that, but he does let us know right there that he has heard and repeats the very fine people. And he said they're very fine people on both sides. So he's clearly at least seen the news part of it, right? Adam, being the intellectual genius that he is, that's as far as he ever went because he's not in a bubble.
Shit.
Adam is a disingenuous douche, and that's being nice. You're not wrong, tall person. Have a good night, my friend.
Brother, I
don't live in your bubble, man.
I don't live in your bubble. That publicly available speech that Trump gave 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. I'm not in a bubble where I could find that on, any social media. I don't live in your bubble. That's his answer for not knowing the rest of that story. I don't live in your bubble, but you do live in a bubble. Exactly, Daryl. He does live in a bubble, and this is the problem with lefties. This is why so many stories about people who have switched sides starts with something like, yeah, they said they were very fine people, and so I looked it up, and he said that, but that's not him supporting Nazis or anything. He said he doesn't support them, specifically not them. And it's because they get lied to. And instead of being like Adam here, Adam should be outraged. He gets shown the evidence of this. Here.
You don't live in the fucking news, dude. Come the fuck on.
I just want to point out on the screen, and Timmy does yell this at Adam in a minute. This is from Snopes. No, Donald Trump did not call neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. This is Snopes saying that. So it's not even like he had to go outside of his bubble very far. Snopes is a lefty site. It just is. And he should be mad. He's just being shown that this lie that he's been living. That should upset him. And instead, he's just like, I don't really know.
You don't read the fucking news.
I don't know what to say.
This is what fucking blows my mind.
No, I just don't have your obsessions.
No, Trump did not.
I don't have your obsessions with what? The truth? And this is why I wanted to play it for you. Because, this is the left. They don't actually care about the truth. And they'll have all kinds of excuses for why they don't need to care about the truth. I don't have your obsession with not smearing Donald Trump illegitimately. What the fuck are you talking about, homie? What is your actual problem? And it's not a problem for him because he gets to just live in his delusional world. He's not in the bubble of the real world. No. Can't be bothered by the truth. Exactly, Adebisi. All right, I am going to do this real fast.
October 8th.
Nope. We're going to shrink it and then make it big again so that my screen is where I can control it a little better. There we go. All right. Now, I have not watched any of this except what we watched yesterday. I was told that it's around the hour and a half mark where he tells the nut story, which I hope to at least get to that part. But here we go. It's the Biden-Hur interview. They released the full thing last night, midway through our show. And I do think it's important that we see just how bad he was and what they were covering up and not allow them to get away with it. Jake Tapper is going on Megyn Kelly's show on Tuesday. I haven't watched Megyn Kelly in a while, and I caught a little clip of hers where she was talking about the whole Jake Tapper book and all that, and she mentioned he's coming on. So I'll be tuning into Jake Tapper over on Megyn Kelly. And Megyn, I know you're not listening, but in case you do, I really want you to ask him why he's not pushing to find out who was running the country. Who was running the country? You're now willing to admit that it wasn't Joe Biden. He couldn't have been. So pressure him on how much he's pushing to find out who was actually in charge of things. Well, I'm mad for listening to that moron and for having to side with Tim Pool. Thanks, Monkey. I know how you feel, Daryl. I know how you feel. But it is instructive, isn't it? It was Jill. I don't think it was Jill. I don't think Jill is smart enough to have run anything. My guess is, especially early on, is that it was Klain, and then whoever replaced him. I forget who was chief of staff when Biden left. I don't remember anymore. But Klain, it's Klain, right? I think that's his name. But anyway, he was there for the first couple of years, and then whoever took that over. Jill's whole thing was just keeping Biden in power so she could stay living in the White House. Past that, I don't think she has enough brains to have been the mastermind of anything. Anyhow.
2023, the time is approximately 12:15 p.m., and this is an interview with President Joseph Biden.
Okay, it is important that 12:15, this goes on for 5.5 hours, right? 5 hours and 10 minutes. So by the end of this, it's not even 6 o'clock yet in the evening. And he starts sundowning immediately. She's a doctor, don't you? Yeah. You're right. You got me on that one. Democrats are evil. I don't think all Democrats are evil. I think a lot of them, especially in charge, are evil. I think the press is evil. I think evil requires intent, and I believe those people are intentionally evil. I think a lot of Democrats are just stupid. Not that makes it any better, but yeah, you know. All right, we are 18 minutes into the show. Let's see how long it takes me to get through this shit. I'm already ready to pause. I was watching some Asmongold when I first woke up today, and I realized he might be the only person who pauses and gets off topic as much as I do. And even then, he's not as much as us, but he was annoying me with how much he was doing it. And I was like, stop, stay in your lane, Asmongold. As a Dem, thank you. And yes, most of us are dumb. Hi, that's the song I sing when my internet blinks on me. Anyway, old school Democrats were not necessarily evil. Some of them were, especially the more commie infused of them, but your regular everyday Democrats weren't. Everybody wanted the same thing. We wanted a better life for our children and a strong country, and we just disagreed on how to get there. And now it's not that. I mean, you have people who are openly opposed to the United States, the very idea of the United States. This is all stolen land. Well, then get the fuck off it. Why are you participating in this crime? Get out. No, what we need to do is bring in more people who don't belong here. Two wrongs make a right. Anyway.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Mr. President.
They had good intentions, but road to hell and all. Yeah, I mean, good intentions aren't enough, and that's why you have vigorous arguments with people who have the same goal but different plans, right? As long as I can appreciate somebody who just has a different idea of how to get there. What bothers me is the people who have no interest in actually improving everything, living the American dream and having that. What they want is their version of it, as they call you a fascist. They don't want anybody else to be able to speak, but you're the fascist. All right. We are going to start this, I promise.
For your time. Actually, it's Saturday afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Unlike yesterday, this one is not annotated. There's no closed captioning on this. I guess we could turn on YouTube's closed captioning. So there, if you guys want to read along, because some of it might be hard to hear, and of course some of it's I do hope we get some bangers out of the YouTube closed captioning with what Biden is mumbling through. That could be fun.
Appreciate your time very much. The record, I should quickly go around and make a note of everyone who's here.
I don't care about this part.
Counsel,
This is boring.
Joined by Mark Rickbaum and also the special counsel's office, and we're joined by two.
Who is in this room that they had to bleep out? This is what I'm talking about with how much secrecy there is in our government. This is an FBI meeting with the president of the United States. Nobody's name in this. You're not talking about some undercover fucking agent working undercover in a drug cartel. This is a dude who wears a suit and works at the FBI headquarters. Oh yeah, we're joined by bloop. All right, whatever.
FBI agents.
We're not even allowed to know the names of our FBI agents. Fuck off.
President Biden, obviously you're here. Thank you very much. You're joined by
Is he obviously there? I bet you could look at his face and be like, he's not here.
members of the White House counsel's team, White House counsel Ed Siskel, Dick Sauber, and Rachel Cotton, and also your two personal counsel, Bob Bauer and David Long.
So Biden had 5 fucking lawyers in there with him? God damn, man. I don't think Bill Clinton had that many when he was answering questions about where he was sticking his cigars.
Have I missed anybody? Not seen it. No. All right. Well then, with that, I have some preliminary matters to go over briefly, but before I do that, do you all have anything else you'd like to say before we jump in? Okay. All right. Well, Mr. President,
This is why I'm not sure we're going to be watching the whole thing. Some of this is boring as shit.
I do want to take an additional minute and thank you for being here and making this time.
You already thanked him. Oh, you suck up piece of shit.
Of course, I know there's a lot of other things in the world going on that demand your attention.
We make it.
No, there wasn't. There wasn't a whole bunch of shit going on. He could spend 5 hours. The only thing he was missing here was his morning, mid-afternoon, and evening naps.
A lot of other things in the world going on that demand your attention.
We may get interrupted by one.
Understood.
That seems ominous, doesn't it? We may get interrupted by one. Were you planning on blowing up an aspirin factory?
I hope not.
We hope
I
not.
just got off the phone with Bibi Netanyahu. Things.
Yes, sir. So I also wanted to say that we know that you have provided significant cooperation with our investigation. And I wanted
That's
to personally
debatable.
recognize that and thank you for it.
FBI knows my house better than I do.
I get that he was telling a joke there, but how fucking distasteful is that with what his DOJ did to Trump? And how much does it go to the fact that this motherfucker doesn't even know where he's at? Man, mother of God. This is going to be a long one. All right. If that happens again, we'll just switch over to the other internet. Sorry about that.
Been obvious during the months that we've been at work that my goals have been to do a thorough and professional job, but also to do it as swiftly as possible. And your cooperation has been very helpful in us trying to achieve all of those goals, especially the
Blah, blah,
efficiency,
blah.
of our investigation. On the topic of cooperation.
This is why I usually play video games while I'm listening to shit like this.
Of an investigation, obviously your willingness to sit for this interview today and tomorrow and answer our questions is part of that cooperation. It's obviously very important to answer our questions truthfully, and we appreciate very much your willingness. We hope that you will be.
Spud said it was always going to be a long one. I have a sleeping bag and supplies for a week. That might be about it. Yeah.
Put forth your best efforts in really trying to get your best recollection.
Monkey, that's what I'm doing. Why would you rub that in? That's mean, Jeff. Damn.
In response to the questions we asked, because I acknowledge that some of the questions we are asking related to events that happened years ago.
I'm a young man, so it's not a problem.
I saw that yesterday.
Last year. Couple of other ministerial notes.
Oh, dear
I
God.
may ask a question that is unclear.
I should have watched this so we could jump ahead. That's my bad, y'all.
If I ever ask a question that you
Currently
don't quite
playing
understand,
Primal. I still haven't played Primal. I own it, but I haven't played it.
I don't understand what you're saying. You should ask me to try to clarify, and I'll take another crack at it.
Okay.
And then, should you ever want to take a break today or
By the way,
tomorrow?
there's a restroom right behind us.
Thank you.
Resting you as well.
Good to know. Thank you. Should you ever want to take a break during the interview, including to confer with members of the White House counsel's office, your personal counsel, all you got to do is just let us know that. And we'll take
Yeah. This is all stuff that he just getting out of the way,
Rob,
pleasantries and
on the
formalities.
question of clarity, the question, we don't want to interrupt the flow. Of course, if Ed or I have any uncertainty about what you're asking, we may also ask for clarity about the question.
I would be surprised if you did not.
I'm just confident of that.
All right. Any other preliminaries before we jump in? Okay. Well, Mr. President,
All right,
normally
here we go.
start these kinds of interviews by asking the witness to tell us a little bit about their background.
Oh, dear God.
You probably have had your background documented as well or better than any other person on the planet today.
Is that true? No, I see. No. We have an extensive history of what Biden has claimed his background is. There's no proof for almost all of it. He's going to talk about corn pop, isn't he? I honestly don't know what he's going to talk about here. But yeah, the idea that we have that Biden is the most extensive background we have, get fucked.
So we will not be asking you to take us back to Scranton.
Thank you.
We will be asking you to take us back more recently, back to the end of the Obama administration, so January of 2017. So if you cast your mind back to that time, you at that point,
Yes, of course.
you at that point were about to become a private citizen for the first time in 40 years. That would be the first time in 4 decades, even not.
Actually, wasn't it like 48 years at that point? If I'm remembering, because what he was elected in when did Biden first get to Congress? I want to say it was the late 60s, wasn't it? Did Biden join Congress? Joe Biden in 1970. So trying to do math here. Yeah, I guess that's okay. 16 plus 30, 46 years.
In government service. So could you just tell us a little bit about what you were planning on doing with your time as a private citizen? What kind of projects and pursuits you were thinking about engaging in? And a note about this question, I am thinking about public external facing pursuits as opposed to.
What he's asking them is, were you planning on going out and doing any speeches like most of these people do? Senate in 73. Why did that thing tell me in 70? Maybe he ran in 70 and lost. I should have read the whole thing.
Personal family oriented pursuits, if that helps. Category of things.
I was going to become a professor at the University of Pennsylvania.
No, you weren't. You
And
were going to become an honorary professor. They were going to give you money for you to pretend you worked there. Knock it off.
I was working at the University of Delaware for a Biden School on Domestic Policy. And so my objective was to stay engaged in public policy debate and teach. By the way, I taught before.
We talked about that, Sean.
Saturdays. For a number of years, I taught at Delaware Law School. I taught a course in constitutional law on Saturday morning.
I have no doubt that that actually took place. I just doubt that anybody has anybody heard of anybody being like, I went to Biden's law school.
Mornings. So it was, I wanted to continue that kind of work.
Understood. So with respect to your professorship and the Penn Biden Center, how much of your time did you anticipate spending on that post vice presidency?
All of it.
All of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a job. How much time do you expect to spend on your?
40 to 80 hours a week, not all my time, sir.
I'm not being facetious. I mean, I wanted to have a recreation and other things. I don't mean that, but
Well, then how much
this is
time?
going to be my job.
And how did your participation in the efforts of the Biden Institute factor into that as well?
Again, you have to realize that calling that his job is him doing nothing. It's him, even if he showed up there, you're talking about him sitting on his ass and occasionally being called into a meeting where people laugh at his unfunny jokes, and then he goes back and sits in his office while he doesn't accomplish anything.
Well, that was part of
Graduated bottom third of his class. He graduated sixth from the bottom, even though he claimed he graduated at the top.
it as well. And Penn knew that I was working with the Biden Institute on domestic policy.
So were you planning on spending all of your time at one, or did you have two separate things going on? See, this is what I fucking hate about Biden. Even in what little clarity he has, he was still a fucking liar. Still a fucking liar. I was going to spend all my time doing that. What about the Biden Institute? Oh, yeah, I was going to do that too. And they knew that I was going to do that too. Well, those are separate things, you lying shithead. This is why I can't also just give him a pass for his dementia, because he's been lying his whole goddamn career.
The real advantage I had in the Penn job was they gave me money to hire staff. So I was able to hire some first-rate people, like the Secretary of State, who now is my Secretary of State, was working for me at the Penn Center, at the Penn Biden Center. And
is anybody else feel a little gross by that? He leaves being the vice president. They give him a cushy job where he gets to hire people, and then those people just happen to come work for him when he's president. The Biden circle has been, I was going to say necrophilic. That's not the word I'm looking for. Nepotistic his whole career.
so it was, it was about being engaged in matters that I thought were still consequential.
Remember, this is the guy who's later going to tell us that in 2017 and 18, when he's getting ready to go work at this place, he was just so distraught by his son, who was either dying or deployed 2 years after he actually did die, to actually pay attention to anything going on. Keep that in mind, because we watched that clip yesterday.
Domestic policy was related mainly to matters having to do with the Judiciary Committee on Economic Policy. And at Penn, it was mainly doing foreign policy.
Why would Penn hire him for foreign policy if his background is all domestic policy? Sure.
One of the other things that we know that you spent a significant amount of time doing after the end of your vice presidency was writing a book, Promise Me Dad. So when you were thinking about writing that book at the end of your vice presidency, how much time did you anticipate that would take of yours?
Well,
I
none,
didn't-
because he had anticipated all of his time was going to working at Penn. This I get what the interviewer has to do here, right? Because they can't just come out and be adversarial, especially not to the president that has shut this down immediately. But come on.
I couldn't, it took more time than the first book I wrote. I wrote a bestseller.
But I wrote a bestseller. Bullshit. You wrote a book that the DNC bought to funnel money to you in dirty ways. But with that, he just said, hey, I didn't anticipate it would take any time. You already wrote a book. Writing a book is not a one-day experience. This shit takes a while. Even if you're churning out shitty romance novels, it's going to take you at least a couple of months to get one of those turned out without editing it all. I didn't expect it to take any time. I didn't write the first one. I wasn't really going to write this one either. Oh, fuck.
Early on was on the bestsellers list. And then what I wanted to do was write a book about my son because he was a remarkable man.
You wanted to write a book about your son because you were still planning on running for president if Hillary lost. Sorry, when Hillary lost. And you thought that you could ride your dead son to the presidency. That's why you did it. Hey, Bubba. Off to bed. Have a good one, my friend.
And, I wanted my grandchildren and great-grandchildren and family to understand who he was.
All except Old Navy, right? you didn't want her to know much about her Uncle Bo.
Have some documentation of it. I wasn't writing at the time, thinking that it was going to sell, it was going to be a bestseller, that kind of thing.
Really? Then why didn't you just write a personal diary? This is what I love. The way that our political system works. Everybody's like, oh, you shouldn't go work for lobbying firms. Lobbying firms aren't how most of these assholes make their dirty money when they leave office. They do it by writing books that nobody actually reads and by giving talks that nobody actually goes to.
I want people to know this is a guy who, on his deathbed, grabbed my hand and said, Dad, I'm not afraid. Don't promise me, Dad. Promise me, Dad, you'll stay engaged. Promise me. Because he knew how much
that shit did not happen.
I'd sort of walk away from everything I've always worked on.
You want me to believe that on Bo's deathbed, he was like, Dad, please run for president. Please don't disengage, Dad. Just go out there and make me proud, Skipper. Bullshit.
So I wanted people to know what kind of man he was.
And we're going to be talking about Promise Me Dad more further on and tomorrow as well. But please just allow me to say for a moment, I am so terribly sorry for your loss.
A lot of people have had similar losses.
You know what?
Worse without
I'm sorry. That was very dismissive of a dead man and a father who lost his son. And under normal circumstances, I would be much nicer about it. But this little motherfucker has used his dead child to get ahead. He's used his dead wife to get ahead. He's used his dead daughter. Oh no, he's completely forgot that poor girl ever existed. He didn't write Promise Me, Dad, from the perspective of his daughter who died as a child. No, it's the Bo who died, and that's the only one that matters now. This man has no respect for his son at all. He's just another tool to be used.
Kind of support I had. I have a family that's an incredible family, and so I just know that I wonder all the people out there. I've written about it, talked about it. So many brave people get up every morning, put one foot in front of the other. And I don't know how the hell they do it. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah, they actually care about their
I have a
kids.
lot of help.
I bet it's a lot harder when you care about the child and they pass. In your case, you're like, I didn't even care about the little fucker. I don't know how people who care get through this shit. I had to pretend to cry and shit. And that may sound harsh. You just said, oof. Might sound harsh, but this man has done nothing to show me he actually cared about his son at all. That he cared about his wife at all. That he cared about his daughter at all. Fuck this guy. And his crocodile tears.
One other thing that we understand you spent significant time on at the end of your vice presidency as well as post vice presidency was the Biden Cancer Initiative,
Yes.
also known as the Cancer Moonshot. So can you tell us about your thinking in January 2017 about how much time that was going to take in yours and its relative priority and other things that you were working on?
Well, clearly, for somebody who was spending all his time doing one thing, he had several different things he was going to have to devote time to. Weird.
It was a high priority, and that's one of the reasons why I like Penn as well. Penn has a great medical school and a great cancer research facility up there.
But you weren't going to be involved in that. Ah!
And I talked to the president.
How did anybody fall for this man's bullshit? When he was coaching, how did anybody fall for this liar's bullshit? This is the problem with partisan politics.
And I talked to people at the school, and Bo had engaged with them as well as a patient. And so the great thing about
Bo was a patient at Penn? I'm not saying that that's not true, but that seems. Are there no good hospitals in Delaware, or they couldn't get him to Mayo or any other major hospital? They took him to a university hospital? Again, I'm not saying that didn't happen. That strikes me as weird for being Biden's kid. And what? He was the AG of Delaware at the time? Huh.
Penn, it wasn't a straight line. I had access to a whole range of experts who could help me on the things, or I thought I could help. They thought I could be added value, I think.
You know, Romeo, you're not wrong there. He says, how did anybody fall for his bullshit? Easy answer, they wanted to. 100%, yeah. And again, that's the partisan line, right? It's so easy to believe when you want to. Hey, Alan, how you doing, man?
As well. And and the way that came about was in order to try to deal with what Bo was facing, I had visited every major cancer research facility in the world. The world was sick.
The world. Bo died in 2015, so in order for that to be true, we would have a record of you going to all of these cancer research centers all over the world. And I just don't believe that exists.
One exception, to interview and find out about what they knew about glioblastoma, what they knew about various, because I'm still convinced, I'm still working on the cancer initiative, what I found was that cancer docs are incredible, but a lot of them walk by that mirror looking at themselves as a Pulitzer Prize, a Nobel Prize about to be won. They don't share data and information very much.
Well, that's just the way of medical research. It really is. It's a sad reality of our world that research has to be protected, because if somebody else steals it, then they get the credit and all the money that comes with it. What's up, Jack?
Hey, Monkey. How you doing?
We're watching Biden, and he's 11 minutes into his interview, and he's already started to Biden out.
Surprised you lasted that long.
He didn't, because he actually started about 3 minutes ago.
Okay, I was gonna say it's like holding in a fart. You can try and do it, but at some point that fucker's coming out.
Yeah. You haven't missed much, except for Biden claiming that when he was leaving to the vice presidency that he planned to spend all his time at Penn. And then he was very specific about that. And then he was going to spend time at the Biden Institute. He was also going to do his book, and He was doing cancer research. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me guess though. When you say that he was going to spend all his time at Penn, and I suspect he was doing all these other things at Penn.
No.
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 Oh, okay.
Penn was gonna let him do them. They understood about like the Biden Institute. Yeah.
Well, look, cancer research is a noble pursuit. Good on him because he's not a scientist; he's a politician and maybe a lawyer. But is he talking about Pennsylvania State, or is he talking about becoming a magician?
I honestly don't know.
Because I could go either way on this one. Some people will say, look, man, he's going to do all this stuff at a university. I personally see him wearing a top hat and being like, I'm a wizard, Harry.
Well, that's just a normal Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. The only
reason
reason I'm harping on him saying that he was going to spend all his time at Penn is because he got a little incredulous when the guy asked him that. He goes, what do you mean by spending all your time there? He goes, I mean, spend all my time there. It's like, it was my job. I was going to, sure, I'd have some recreational stuff, but it was going to, how much time do you spend at your job? He actually asked the dude that.
He asked a FBI agent how much time.
Yeah.
That FBI agent has done more in a week than Biden does in probably 3 years.
As president, yeah.
Yeah, or a senator or anything else, because they're a bunch of lackadaisical mofos over there.
And it just bothered me how fucking uppity he got at that question. And then for him now to list, I believe we're up to 4 other things, or is it 3, guys? I've lost count. Anyway, so he's explaining about how he went around when Bo got cancer to every major cancer center in the world except for one. He personally went there, Jack, to talk with the researchers. And what he found out is that they look in the mirror like they're prospective Nobel Prize winners. I him coming. Anyway, so that's you're all move along. Am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a slight hiccup there. I don't know if that was me or you.
No, it was me. I saw the little thing pop up on. That's why I asked, am I still here? All right, here we go.
So under the Obama administration, he told me I could begin the research and see what we should be doing as an administration to do with cancer. And what I did find out was there's very little collaboration.
Okay. I don't remember when Bo was diagnosed with cancer. But just the logistics of visiting every major cancer center in the world is going to take you a while.
Yeah.
And Obama told him you could go ahead and start research. Do you think we needed Biden? I mean, it's not like people are like, oh my God, cancer's a thing. Why does this man? You've talked about this a lot, especially yesterday. You brought it up several times, and it's totally true. This man thinks he's fucking Superman. He thinks he's a hero.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He is a self-aggrandizing little shithead.
Yeah, he's a legend in his own mind. He's like a Hollywood actor, like so many politicians are, because politics is celebrity for ugly people. As I think Rush Limbaugh said that, but a lot of them are so full of themselves they just can't get over how amazing they are. But they're useless retards. But everybody thinks they're genius and everybody thinks they're special.
How do I broadcast on YouTube? Live on YouTube. That is a long question. The short answer is on your dashboard. When you go to your Creator Studio, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button you click, and one of the things that pops down is go live. You click on that. You need to have some kind of encoder. Right now I'm going through StreamYards, but most people just use OBS. But But past that, we just don't have the time to get into that tonight. Sorry.
There's a lot of good
Yeah,
tutorials on YouTube for it.
And on projects where there's a lot of money the federal government puts out for research projects. And the deal is you're supposed to, once that project is finished, publish it. Well, the vast majority don't publish it for a long time, and they never publish their failures. And you go, no, when I say not their failure, when they didn't reach the conclusion they were looking for.
That would be a failure. This is a problem we have with the research that comes out, because like a lot of this stuff, I'm of the opinion, Jack, if these guys are getting our money for their research, then their results are ours.
Yeah.
This is why shit like speaking of Penn, the University of Pennsylvania, where Michael Mann works, and he keeps all of his government-funded global warming research hidden. All of that shit should be open to anyone. Fuck you.
Yeah, well, on top of that, the government shouldn't be allowed to own anything.
Yeah.
They usually don't claim ownership over stuff like those old like newsreels where they were doing little documentaries and warnings and stuff like that. They didn't used to own that stuff, but now they start claiming proprietary. I don't think government should be allowed to do that. So any of this publicly funded stuff should all be open to the public and transparent. A lot of universities claim ownership of your stuff if you work for them. So if they're getting federal funds, no, fuck you. You don't own that. We do, the people.
Eric Cole says I ain't got none of that. StreamYards is a website that you go to and you sign up for, and anybody can use. There's a free version and a paid version. The free version is very limited. As for OBS, it is a free download. You look for OBS. What is it? OBS Studio, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And there are tons of tutorials for all of that right here on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, hang on real quick. Thank you, Evolved Potato. Some recent Australian news. The government has announced plans to implement unrealized capital gains tax on everyone's retirement funds.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, that is a huge cash grab. Unrealized gains on your retirement fund? Wow.
I mean,
that's disgusting.
If you're gonna do unrealized capital gains, it should be on retirement funds.
Well, that's where they're gonna get the most money. That's disgusting, man. But of course, all the politicians are exempt from it. Well, yeah, of course they are. That's how politicians work, dude. I hate to break it to you, but they're a bunch of low-life scum. The more I hear about what's going on in Australia, the more I expect some sort of open revolution. Uh-oh. Monkey?
I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
That is like the fourth time already. I'm just going to switch to my other internet real fast.
Okay. He's going to change you guys. Don't change, Monkey. We like you the way you are. You still having storms out there?
It's just audio, so we should be fine.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you're touching Canada.
I know, right?
You got your little glove there. You're like, hello, Canada. Ooh.
Don't touch the underside of Canada. It's gross. Anyway.
Yeah, you're tickling their Ontario. That was weird.
That was weird.
Or anything else. So the president gave me carte blanche to engage any member of the administration. So, for example, we used to have meetings at NIH where there was all the medical stuff. But what I did, I made sure that the Defense Department was there.
You had the Defense Department in on cancer research talks. Chicago Mike, thank you for becoming a member for month number 23. Monkey, may I make a suggestion? Is it possible you move your avatars to the top of the screen? We need the subtitles. Oh, I think I can move those. Yeah, you're right. We'll just kick it old school. We'll just put them off to the side. There we go. Sorry about that.
Sometimes we forget because, we're not that good
Well,
at this.
We don't usually use subtitles, in the videos and stuff that we watch.
Yeah, and Captain Mushmouth is difficult to understand, but we've been listening to him so long. Sometimes it becomes like normalized for us.
Shit. I was trying to see if I'll have to make another setup for our things to be up elsewhere. But for now, I know it's a little bit smaller, guys, but that's the best we can do. Or we'd have to take ourselves completely off the screen, and I need to see myself.
Yeah, we can't. We got egos, dude. Come on,
bruh. Anyway, I wonder if I can just alter that other one, because the one that we normally use is one that I set up myself. Is there a way to edit this fucker?
I don't know.
Edit layout. Oh, look at that. Just save the new layout. I don't care. Where did that end up? There it is. Hey, look at that.
Oh my god, I'm surrounded by monkeys.
I can't even actually see us because we're behind the timer.
You're right under the timer on my right, but then you're also on the left because that's the thing from
the main one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, thanks for pointing that out.
Thanks for becoming a member.
Indeed.
NASA was there. NASA.
I know NASA's filled with a lot of scientists, but should they really be in the cancer research one?
Look, if little Joey is going to go out and do some cancer research, he's going to do it on one of the space expeditions.
Look, given what the NIH was at the time, maybe DOD and NASA was the smart pick, but it certainly wouldn't be my choice of where I was going to make. We need to make sure we bring in General Big Dick to make sure that he knows what's going on with our cancer research.
Well, I don't know. I'm not that familiar with their secret operations.
Yeah, right.
Space Force.
All right.
To know more about dealing with some of the things that have to do with working on cancer.
NASA knows. Wait. I want to hear that again. Listen, this was the president.
NASA knows more about dealing with some of the things that have to do with working on cancer.
NASA knows more about some of the things about dealing with cancer.
I don't know what the hell NASA knows, but apparently there's some secrets.
They have all of the cancer research, apparently.
Yeah. Real quick. Thank you, Keldrick. Surrounded by monkeys. That's racist. No, not if they're actual monkeys.
True.
We consider them people now, not farm tools. You can't insult the Irish like that. I mean, potato.
There you go.
By the way, I don't think the screen changed at all while he was talking.
The screen won't change. This isn't a video.
Oh, so the subtitles are useless?
Oh, no, the subtitles didn't change?
No.
Oh. That might be an issue. Well, let's see what happens.
Many people die trying to...
It's changing on my screen, so hopefully whatever it was is fixed.
Oh, okay.
Many people die trying to...
And they go in to kill the cancer, they use a proton. Anyway.
Wait. All right, we had to go back again.
people die trying to, they went to kill the cancer, they use a proton. Anyway,
Many people die they going in to kill the cancer, they use a proton anyway. That is a sentence from the former president of the United States when he was president.
So what you're telling me is they went in to fight the cancer cells miniaturized like in Fantastic Voyage. And what they came across were these giant monstrous cell things. They started fighting them with proton packs, but somebody crossed the streams and it went horribly wrong, like Egon warned us.
Jesus. 25% of Dems would vote for him in 2028. Yeah, I know.
so there are all kinds of things. I wanted the Defense Department in there because they had computers with million calculations per second.
Remember, this is a question about whether he was going to plan to keep focusing on the Biden cancer moonshot after he left. Not while he was vice president, after he left.
And no medical facility had that. So I've tried to give every resource that I learned. I'm no doctor. I learned theoretically could be added value in determining what was the source of certain cancers and therefore cures. So that's how I got so deeply engaged in that.
Understood.
Nobody asked you how you got deeply engaged in that. Oh, fuck, man. This is going to be a long, long day.
So let me shift gears
Sometimes taking the easy way out isn't the easy way, Jack.
here slightly. We talked about the kinds of efforts and initiatives that you were thinking about spending your time on after the end of your vice presidency. Could you tell us what you were thinking back at the time in January 2017 about where you plan to spend your time? So we understand that you rented a home on Chambers Road in McLean, Virginia. You obviously still have the lake house in Wilmington at that time. At some point, you acquired a beach home in Rehoboth. So there were.
Was he going to take the train to Penn every day? None of these are near. None of these are near the University of Pennsylvania.
No, my understanding was he was only going to be there occasionally. Like it was some sort of like honorarium. He just had an office there. He didn't actually do anything there. It's not like he was teaching classes or anything.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
And I hear you, but his answer already was that he was going to spend all his time at Penn. That was what he was planning. And at none of these times did he plan to purchase any home near the University of Pennsylvania.
No, because the University of Pennsylvania had a moon base where he was doing all this research with NASA.
It was University of Penn, right? Not Penn State?
I don't know.
Whichever one it was. He didn't have a home near either of them.
No. The closest one was what, Virginia or Delaware?
Yeah, depending on where they were there. I'd have to look at the map. Have you played Killer Instinct? Not that I remember.
The one from the 80s? That game was awesome. It was a stand-up. I like to play the snowman and the other the robot-looking guy.
A number of different places where you could lay your head after the end of your vice presidency. And how did you think about where you were going to be spending?
Well, I didn't think about beach house because I didn't have the capacity to. For 36 years, I was listed as the poorest man in Congress.
I couldn't go to my beach house that I owned because I was poor in Congress.
Yeah, the poorest man in Congress has a beach house. Think about that.
All right. And by the way, that is what's the word I want to say here? A nebulous term is the politest way. It's bullshit is what it is.
Yeah, it's a load of bullshit.
Joe Biden has not been poor since he was like a little tiny child.
Yeah.
And even then, he probably wasn't actually poor. He was maybe lower middle class for the time. Anyway,
I mean, literally listed by the rate. And I did fine because I had my salary, so I never thought of that. I commuted every day.
I never thought about where I was going to lay my head when I'd leave because I commuted every day.
So you was a hobo riding the rails. Where I lay my head is home.
God bless.
And I got in the boxcars with A Number One and Jimmy Two Timer. And we sang songs and played harmonica.
Penn wanted me to have a facility in Washington. I wanted me to continue to engage the Congress and the Senate, the presidency, the administrations, each administrations in debates about what the foreign policy issues were. And so they'd often set up for me to be guest lecturers in Europe or wherever it was to continue to.
The question is, where were you planning on living? And maybe this is the interviewer's fault because he should have just said that. Where was your living arrangements planned to be? And now they set me up to give lectures in Europe and can't stay at my beach house because I'm too poor. That is, we should have a telethon. He was too poor to live in his beach house, Jack. I didn't realize how tough. I didn't realize how tough he had it, man. He couldn't afford the beach house.
Life's rough.
Fundamental debates about the future of the foreign policy of the United States. So that's why, and if you notice, the Penn Biden Center was as close as you get to the Capitol without being at the Capitol grounds. It had conference rooms and the like, so I could bring down people and they come down and debate issues.
Okay. And that's fine that they had a satellite office in DC. But you were talking when you said you were going to go work for Penn, that it was so you could you even told us with the cancer thing, you go meet with the cancer researchers there. I'm fairly certain the University of Penn doesn't have a cancer center in DC.
You don't know.
I actually do on that one.
I'm telling you, they got a moon base, and they were just teleporting him up and down. That's how he was commuting.
Wait, I thought we listened to it yesterday. No. We listened to clips yesterday.
Yeah, this is the full thing. Because
This is
Monkey
the full
decided torture needed to be 2 days.
5 hours of Joseph R. Biden. The R does stand for retard.
Yeah.
Like they do another forum, like the Council on Foreign Relations. So that was sort of a generic model.
And given that, was that I suppose the reason for you to have a home in the Washington, D.C. area?
Yes, because my wife was still teaching. It worked for her to be able to continue to teach at Northern Virginia Community College. And
can I just laugh at Jill Biden teaching at community college? She is the vice president's wife, and the most she could secure was a community college.
I bet she's a real pain in the ass to work with, though.
Probably. It says a lot about her as a doctor. That as the vice president's wife, the best she could do was Northern Virginia. And I'm not knocking Northern Virginia Community College at all. Community colleges serve a very, I was going to say vital, but that's not true. They serve a purpose.
Yeah.
But shit, even actors can get gigs at state universities.
and rather have her commute. And if I had gone back and located in Delaware permanently, I wouldn't have had the reach. I'd be traveling a lot down here and in other areas to not just engage American diplomats, but engage foreign diplomats to come and talk about foreign policy. And it was to expose students too. I mean, that was the whole idea here.
It's a think tank. What are you talking about exposing students? Joe, stop exposing children.
Is this a biography? Like, are these FBI guys going to write his book? Because he's talking like that they should be taking notes on all of this.
Yeah. So 2 houses, but so poor. No, 3 houses.
Expose the Penn students to these opportunities.
Any other questions on that general overview? All right. I'd like to move on to the next topic, which generally is.
That was like 2 minutes of Joe rambling to say that he was basically staying in the Northern Virginia home. That's all he had to say. I was planning on staying in the Northern Virginia home.
Going to cover.
How long do you think this interview would have been if Joe didn't add all the flavor text?
Probably 20 minutes. Although I kind of want him to read audiobooks now. Like, find some kids' books and have him read them. They're going to be like 4 times as long, and they're going to involve random stories about, corn pop and shit like that.
I hear you, but what I'd much rather is him to just give us his recollection of fairy tales. Joe remembers, kinda. It would be the name of the series.
What about? All right, hear me out on this one.
Okay.
Joe Biden doing educational books for like 6th graders. Your Changing Body by Joseph R. Biden.
I don't want
Have
children
you noticed
afraid
the
of
fuzzy
themselves.
hair growing down there? Well, back in 1945, Adolf Hitler was annexing Italy, and then my Uncle Bosie was flying over the Pacific.
Oh, you know what? See, I hear you, and that would be funny. But if that ever happened, he would accidentally tell a time about one of his pubic hairs fell on his daughter's head in the shower.
That's how I teabagged my daughter. What? Daddy, I don't understand what's happening. Shut up, son. This is mandatory for school.
He's the president. Oh, excuse me. Weather changing here, man. It's pissing me off. We had some beautiful days, and then it was cold today. And my lungs went, nah, I don't want to do that no more.
Yeah, we had like 60 pretty much all day. I was out mowing the lawn.
That's cold.
Yeah, it was nice. I had this sweater on from about half of it, and then I locked myself out of the house, and the door broke.
Last night, as I was sitting here. Oh, by the way, sorry about last night. My internet cut out, and then I was like, fuck. And so, yeah, I didn't mean to just leave you hanging last night.
That's okay. I only sat here for about 2 hours. I was just like, I'm sad and lonely.
It was warm yesterday, so I had the fan on, and I didn't realize how cold it was getting in my room. So I finally go crawl into bed, and Lady Monkey wakes up, and she comes over and snuggles with me. And she felt like she was on fire. And it wasn't that she was that hot. I was just that cold and hadn't realized it.
Wow.
Yeah. But, she felt nice snuggling up. And then she had to get up because she had to pee. Like, really? Get back here and keep me warm, woman. I'm your husband. You do what I say. I would never say that to her because I like living.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, it's not true. And...
I don't like when my wife laughs at me.
It's hurtful. Then the cat sits there judgmentally looking at me. I can tell she's laughing too.
Oh, dude. So I've told you before, we give Phoebe a monthly topical treatment.
Yeah.
And she hates it. She acts as though we're actually sticking her with a needle. And today was the day I had to give it to her. And we have figured out that I have to be the one to give it to her because she treats everybody else like shit if they do it. For a week, man, she will treat them like shit for a week. She'll refuse to come near them. If they touch her, she'll run off. But with me, I gave it to her. And then me and her went outside for a couple of minutes. And then within 20 minutes, she was back up on my shoulder purring.
Aw.
Until I touched her neck, and then she's like, "I don't trust you, fucker." All right. Anyway, enough about my cat. No, there's never enough about my cat. Phoebe's awesome.
Look, dude, when we're talking about Joe Biden, distraction is mandatory.
True. All right, here we go. I hope Lady Monkey isn't listening. Well, see, that's the great thing. She rarely listens to this show, so I can say what the fuck I want. I ain't afraid of her hearing because she doesn't listen.
Uh-huh.
You're handling classified information and materials during your vice presidency. And let me try to frame the following set of questions for you. We well understand that the president and the vice president in our system of government are the ultimate consumers of intelligence and classified information.
I guess by default, the vice president is. But remember, the vice president has no say. He's mostly told just in case. But I get what the guy's saying there. It just gives a little more weight to it than it actually has.
Well, you got to puff it up a little bit because this guy was the VP.
They sit the vice president on the couch there and let him hear or her hear everything. And then they ignore any opinion they have.
Yeah, it's like having a little kid in the room while you're talking grown-up stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you stay over at your table and just listen.
But what he's getting at here is that the vice president sees pretty much everything. And fair enough.
And in order for you to properly do your constitutional duties, you have to have ready and convenient access to classified information. So part of the reason we're talking to so many people during the course of our investigation is we're trying to get a better sense of how vice presidents, and you in particular when you were vice president, how you stored and accessed that information.
I feel like they should go back a little further because as we've discussed, we know this motherfucker had shit from his Senate time.
Yeah.
So shouldn't that start there? Like when you were Senate, how did you deal with the classified? I mean, it's not a bad question. It's just he should have started further back.
Look, we're 17 minutes into this 5-hour fiasco. And I think the interviewer has already figured out that asking him about his Senate time, probably a waste of time.
For the record, we're only an hour into watching this. So we made it through 17 minutes in an hour. This is really fast for me.
An hour and 18 minutes.
No, we started watching this at about 18 minutes in, and technically it was 20 minutes in because I started it at 18 and I stopped so long it was another 2 minutes before we actually started.
All right, guys, you heard him. So we've got about 9 more hours to go.
Yep. Why am I hearing the man song when Monkey is talking about him and his wife? I'm a man.
Given that the handling rules, the classified handling rules that apply to every other human being in government don't necessarily apply to the president and the vice president.
Yes and no. They don't necessarily apply to the president. They still mostly apply to the vice president. This isn't like the Hatch rule where it doesn't apply to either of them because of that. The vice president still has to follow rules that the president doesn't. And the vice president can't just willy-nilly decide something is no longer classified the way that the president can.
Yeah, but cops can lie to you. So we'll say that just to get him to admit something.
That's fair enough.
Those two folks are different. All that being said, in the end, we have to write a report that explains how and why certain classified documents got to where they got. So part of why we're asking this next set of questions, and we've been talking to so many of the people we talked to, is we are just trying to understand the paper flow
and that's exactly what he's doing right here. I've seen this in so many interrogations I've watched with my murder porn.
Yeah.
He's like, I've seen this technique many times. We're just trying to understand. That's why we talk to everybody. It's not because we actually think you did something wrong. No. We're just trying to get the story right.
we're just trying to figure out what happened and put
Yeah.
all the pieces together. So we just need your side of things.
This is to protect you.
Yeah, just get it off your chest.
I might have watched way too much murder porn.
Or not enough.
How does it get?
Or not enough. True. Although I do get annoyed when there's too much interrogation because sometimes they leave in shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah, interrogations are kind of boring.
Yeah.
They're always in these little creepy, dirty rooms that always need a paint job. Like, seriously, what do you guys do? Have you ever seen the ones with the soundproofing foam and somebody has picked a big section of it away?
Yeah.
That shit's not expensive, guys. Buy another square and replace that. It looks like hell. Especially Cleveland, all right? Cleveland's interrogation room. I've watched way too much First 48 not to recognize what city they're in. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
the Tulsa, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and the Cleveland one. You guys need to upgrade your fucking offices. Seriously.
Oh, Ro, yeah. The faster you answer, the faster you go. We'll just answer our questions. You'll be out of here soon. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
but
anyway.
processed because you're going to be under arrest. Fastest answer is I want my lawyer.
To a vice president. How did it get to that vice president level? And then where did these documents go from there? So that's the reason, that's the relevance of this next set of questions, of that whole topic to our investigation. So all that said, we hope that you can share with us your recollections about how you handle classified those paper flows and processes.
You just know when he said that. We hope you can share with his recollection. Inside, he went, fuck. Because
yeah.
We're only 18 minutes into this, and this guy has already gone off topic, way off topic, to long-ass recollections 3 times.
Recollections, you say? I wrote a play back in the 1930s. What?
He's been asked, like, I think at this point, maybe 8 questions, and the total answers shouldn't have taken a minute.
No, because they're mostly like yes or no or 2-word answers.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so bad for these federal agents, man. This had to be one of the worst days of their lives.
Yeah, because they know they have to walk on eggshells, first of all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a political hot potato.
Yeah, you missed this part, Jack. Biden had 5 fucking lawyers in there with him.
Oh, for God's sake. Lawyers are bad enough by themselves, but you got 5 of them? What do they call that? A theft of lawyers?
Yes.
It's
a pentagram of lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he had his personal lawyer. There was the White House counsel, and I forget what the other, because there's 2 from, I think, the White House. 2 were personal lawyers, and there was 1 other lawyer in there. Yeah. To answer questions about where he kept documents.
Biden's off rambling into tangent land, and oh my God, this is horrible.
I can't wait to see where these go, though. And especially, what was it? An hour and a half mark, right? Where we get to his ball story.
Yeah.
Time you were vice president.
I can't tell you how giddy I am to hear it.
Due to the sheer volume of paper and the need to send material to archives after you're done with them, your papers were constantly being collected by members of your staff. And the new materials were being provided to you. Part of the way that happened was that you received binders on a near
Full of women.
basis. Sometimes they were unclassified binders. Sometimes
That was a Mitt Romney joke. Nobody's laughing. I feel bad.
they were classified binders. And this is, I suppose, the more higher level, more general question. I could see how there might be a tension between, on one hand, your staff being eager to collect that stuff from you, make sure it's properly disposed of and sent to archives or whatever has happened to it. But on the other hand, you may say, well, I'm not done with that. I need to read that more than once. I need to hang on to it for a little bit. I need to digest it.
Oh my God, he's being
in my decision making.
We get it, good
so
cop.
I could understand. I think we got an understanding of those two competing dynamics. So with that framing, when you were vice president and you received classified documents that you wanted to hang on to, it wasn't just a read it once and send it on type of thing. You wanted to hang on to it for a little longer. How did you handle that? How did you store those materials, and how did it eventually get returned to where it needs to go?
Okay, I've already forgot most of this question. There's no way Biden remembers any of it. Why is the audio shit? Because this is an interrogation, and it's not like they have the best YouTube kind of mics in there. They're not rocking a Shure mic in there.
Yeah, this is some digital micro recorder that fits in the palm of someone's hand, left on a desk in a big room. And this was in a conference room too, wasn't it? Not even like an interrogation room.
Yeah. And even interrogation rooms, I mean, they're actually a little bit worse because the sound bounces more.
Yeah, let's say the foam padding up, but then some stupid idiot will peel it off. But fuck you, Cleveland. Look, you know, these guys workshopped these questions and like, these are going to sound great, man. And they probably would, because he set up the framing of it. As soon as he said, and that's the framing of it, I was like, Biden's already forgotten everything you said before that.
Yeah. And I get why he's doing it. But this is part of the problem with sucking up to the president and sending somebody in there, knowing that at any time this asshole can just go, I'm not answering any more questions. This is a very simple question. How did you handle classified documents when you wanted to keep them and one of your staff was like, hey, sir, we got to get that to the archive?
No,
very
it's
simple.
fine.
Yeah.
It's a straightforward question, but they got to dance around it and try and politicize it up. You know, so it's like, oh, we got to neutrally approach this so it's not a threatening question. Mm-hmm. So they workshopped these questions with a couple other agents or a couple of underlings, and they're like, all right, this sounds great. And the lawyers were like, oh, yeah, that was a good question. And Biden's like, potato.
Oh. Have a good night, Jeff. Take care, man.
Later, man.
Well, look, first of all, the binders you talk about were binders that were for the Presidential Daily Brief. There's a blue bag that has a lock on it that comes over. It has a computer in it, and it has a laptop kind of deal, and it has a binder with all the most important. I can show you one today, but of the events of the day. So we tab 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll have a listing of what they are. Almost everything, with notable exceptions in that, is classified. And so I would sit there and either read that with other personnel. We have they call it a PDB, a Presidential Daily Brief, which I would attend, or I would be reading it myself. And when I took notes, I would take notes on the paper most of the time to remind myself what I wanted to follow up on. And then I'd sit with my national security team and say, we should follow up on this, find out more about whether or not, who killed Cock Robin, and find out.
Did he say who killed Cock Robin?
I think so.
Does anybody know if Cock Robin died?
Who is Cock Robin? And is he the sidekick to Cock Batman?
I blame the interviewer for this answer. I really do. All right.
No, hang on.
And
what's up?
For those that don't know, the Presidential Daily Brief is literally a small book. It's like 150 pages or something of all the events going on, right? All the important shit the president has to know. He just said that he's like, if I had one here, I'd show it to you.
Yes.
It's full of classified information.
You're right. He did.
That's a problem. And now we're left with the mystery of who is Cock Robin and why is he dead?
I want to know who killed Cock Robin. And now I need a movie, Who Killed Cock Robin?
Starring Detective Joey.
And so binders like this that I received, a binder that we handed this way. I don't recall getting a whole lot of those binders, and like something like you hand me today.
Okay, but what'd you do with them when you were? That was the question. If you don't remember getting any of them, say I don't remember getting any of them. But if you do remember getting some of them, you should have some recollection of what the fuck you did with it. You're right. He's way too casual with it. Again, I understand why he is, but it's going to drive me nuts this whole time because this isn't how, even when you're playing good cop, you don't go this far. Cock Robin was shot dead by a sparrow.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Okay, there's a poem called Cock Robin.
Uh-huh.
And it starts off, who killed Cock Robin? I said the sparrow. With my bow and arrow, I said the sparrow. With my bow and arrow, I killed Cock Robin. Who saw him die? I said the fly with my little teeny eye. But there are others. You see, it's a term to describe a bird, typically a male bird. But it's also the nickname of Smallborough in J.R. Tolkien's works. So he may have been reading Tolkien, and somebody murdered Smallborough, Robin Smallborough. And he's like, you murdered my boy, Cock Robin. I will find you, Saruman.
All right. I got to give him a little bit of credit for remembering something from his childhood.
Yeah, it's a very long rhyme. And it involves a lot of people. There's a bull, a thrush, a wren, a kite, a dove, a linnet, a lark, a rock, owl, a beetle. Goes
kind
on.
of sounds like a different telling of the old woman who swallowed a fly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this came from Tommy Thumb's Pretty Songbook, published in 1744.
So, yeah, it's from when he was a little kid.
Well, he might have been first entering Congress around this time.
Who killed Cock Robin? All right.
It would be the Presidential Daily Brief that would have it. But a lot of times what I get is I get briefed from my national security advisor, get briefed by my whoever was handling various aspects of the foreign policy for me. And that's how I get briefed. They come in and they'd have, 5 papers in their hands. And they'd say, here's a copy for you. Let's go over what we're doing here.
The question is, what did you do with the paper after that, shithead? I want to say it said Cochran instead of Cochran. For the record, this is YouTube's closed captioning, so there's tons of mistakes already, even on stuff that's pretty easy to say.
Yeah.
And when he said Cock Robin, it didn't say that on the screen. I don't know if that's what you guys are talking about, but it did seem like they were trying to write Cochran on the screen. But he clearly said Cock Robin.
Well, the AI is guessing a lot.
Yeah.
And it's trying to do it on the fly most of the time. So
yeah.
That was the way. I mean, I got very little material that had on the front of it, classic with the yellow the white red boundary on it.
Obama didn't trust him with anything sensitive.
Right.
I mean, we know this. What was it he said? Biden can fuck up anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get much that had the yellow thing on it or the red binder that said secret on. Most of the stuff I had said above top secret. The Pleiadians and the Draconian people from Alpha Centauri would be very upset if I revealed their secrets.
Mongolia has a strong grappling culture, so sumo, judo, and wrestling are big there. And I hear you, understatement, but we got to see the sumo wrestlers he was talking about. They were not sumo wrestlers. They were just wrestlers. Anyway.
Whatever. I got very little of that, other than through the PDB that I recall. Anything that had that on it, what I would do when I finish it, I'd leave it on the desk and they'd collect it, take it in.
Okay. I need to be more specific because I said the question is, what do you do with it? His specific question was, what do you do with it when you want to hold it for longer than they want you to have it? And It might be that he would put it in a certain spot on his desk, and they knew that's when they could take it. But the question is, what'd you do with it until then? How did you? Because he even asked, where did you store it?
Yeah, they're talking about the stuff he had at home, not the presidential daily brief.
They're talking about the kind of stuff that ended up in his home. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and he's babbling on about how they handled this one specific thing. Like that's what they asked about. That's not it at all.
Well, remember, he thinks when you send a fax, the original goes across and you get a copy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm trying to, does that answer your question?
No.
It's very helpful. I have a follow-on question.
Sure.
Which is, so let's focus on the PDD materials, which I think you said had a electronic component to it, like it.
Yeah, I never used that one.
Okay, but there were also paper.
Well, then why did you bring it up? Oh, God. You know, I just was in an argument with an idiot over on Twitter, Jack.
What? No. Shocked.
About AR-15s.
Oh, God.
Because somebody said that AR-15s aren't assault rifles and explained that legally the definition of assault rifle in the United States is something that has a select fire or is fully automatic. And this person was like, no, ARs are select fire. In fact, from 1959 until 1963, they were only select fire.
What?
Yeah, and in 64 is when they make the semi-auto, and that is the civilian model.
Yeah.
And he's like, but no, you could still buy the other one. Like, you can still buy a machine gun today if you want to. It's just expensive.
Or you get it off a shady guy. It's probably got about 8 bodies attached to it.
Yeah. And I was just like, you're being disingenuous because you know what they're talking about is the civilian AR, which is not an assault rifle. It is a semi-automatic rifle.
You gotta remember, a lot of these clowns think the AR stands for assault rifle.
Well, the thing that irritated me is he clearly knows what he's talking about, or at least did a little bit of research before he answered, but he was being disingenuous by pretending those are the kind. He even put up pictures showing it, and they're clearly marked property of the United States government.
Yeah, they're not for the civilian market.
He was just being a disingenuous shithead.
Well, that's mostly what the leftists are.
And that's what Biden is doing here. He brought up the electronic thing just to confuse the issue. It wasn't even something he dealt with. It was for the president. Oh, what a douche. Anyway, sorry.
Binder.
The binder, PDD binder. Okay. So let's say you're reviewing the PDD binder and you think to yourself, this stuff right here, this part of the PDD binder, that's important. And I want to think about that some more. I want to read it again.
Well, remember, he said he wrote down notes on those briefings in the margin so he could remember to look that stuff up. So he would have to take that with him. Unless he wrote it down because writing things down sears it into his memory somehow.
I want to talk to my members of my own national security staff about it, and I'm not ready for that to get whisked away.
I don't ever recall that happening. It may have. But
You don't ever remember taking the binder back with you where you wrote down your notes so you could look that stuff up later? I get that he's demented, Jack. But come on. This is where the guy should go, well, then why did you write notes to remind yourself? I don't understand.
You look at his notes, they're all just like descriptions of little girls he saw from his window.
He's just drawing dick pics on it.
Yeah, it's like, I want to sniff somebody today. Like weird, dirty poems.
Margin notes neutralize classification. Duh. I didn't realize.
I didn't think of that.
No card. Follow up with Jake on bang.
No. You just told it. He's now saying he's writing on note cards to follow up. He told us that he wrote in the margins to follow up.
Margins, note cards, notepads, they're all the same, right?
Look, I know I this is a waste of time to argue this because he is demented, but he literally just said that. It was less than 2 minutes ago in real time.
Yeah, I
All right.
see what you're saying, but hear me out. Maybe
Uh-huh.
it was actually on a parchment scroll.
By the end of it, it might be.
Follow up with boom on boom. And then I'd call my team in and say, what do you think this means? That so-and-so moved forces here, there, so-and-so said such and such, and follow on that way. I said, well, can you do me a memo on that? And they'd go back and anyway.
Okay, understood. Do you recall any instances in which, say the PDB binder had tabs 1 through 5?
Wait, before you get to that, if you don't remember that ever happening, how did stuff from the PDB end up in your fucking personal house?
It was planted there by dwarves.
1 through 10 or something, where you would actually remove something and say, to make my conversation with my national security staff, my team easier, I'm going to say, pull this out, and then I'm going to say, hey guys, I need help on this.
I don't recall that. Taking anything out of the PDB binder. What I would do is I say, I'm keeping the binder till this afternoon. I want to talk to you about this.
You just told us you didn't do that. You wrote it on an index card.
Well, he stored them in his trapper keeper. But
Jesus Christ.
Biff Tannen kept trying to steal his trapper keeper from him. Thankfully, he ran into this nice kid, Calvin Klein, who helped him get it back.
I was in 5th grade when I got my first trapper keeper, and it had a lion or a tiger on it.
Oh, I had one with a Black Panther on it. It was fucking awesome. I
Yeah.
loved that thing.
But I don't ever recall taking pieces of the binder out.
I see. Were there occasions in which you said, I'm going to hang on to this PDB binder for a while? Like, I need another day or 2 with it.
Well, there may be. We lock it back up and say, I want to see this one with what tomorrow says.
Why didn't you just say that from the beginning? We wouldn't have gone through the last 5 minutes.
Really? You expect Joey Biden to do that? Oh no, we got the long rambly version.
Here's the problem with this part of it. This is the part where he is actually coherent because he just lied twice. And you don't do that when you don't remember. He just lied. And that's what annoys me about this. This is where you go get him. Again, remember, they were never going to prosecute him. Even if they did, he would have got off, Jack, just because of the rest of this.
Yeah.
And so I'd keep it. I have it with me in the office for a day or whatever.
And when you would have it with you in the office for that additional period of time, where did that end up getting?
It was locked and the staff would, I don't know where they put it, but the actual case it was in actually had a lock on it.
Okay. And who would you end up asking to do that?
I never asked anybody. It just got done. I don't know. I can't remember who.
I see. Okay. But if you left it.
All right. I do want to reiterate, I think most classification is nonsense, but the Vice President of the United States didn't know who was locking up the classified information, Jack.
Yeah, his name is Gary. He lived down the way.
Is that concerning to anyone else?
Nah, why would we be concerned by that? Don't be silly, monkey. You silly man. All worried about national security. What, like the Chinese are going to hack into... Oh, wait. Or the Chinese are going to send spy balloons over our missile... Oh, wait.
Oh, my God, he didn't know who was handling the document. Exactly. That's an issue. Classification elves, stop it. All right.
A PDB binder on your desk.
Yes, they did take it.
How did they know whether to take it and then
It was on my
it
desk.
goes away?
It was on my desk. They take it.
So just to finish my question for a moment.
Wait.
How did they know if they saw a PDB binder on your desk? How do they know whether to take it and know he's done with it? It can go away to wherever these things go, or he needs it for another day, so let's lock it up here.
If I'm understanding this correctly, Jack, he just left it on his desk and then would leave. And they would go, oh, he's done with this highly classified shit. We should lock it up.
Yeah, see what would happen in real life is he's like, the security elves will come collect this, but I can't be in the room. We're not supposed to meet each other. Those are like, you know, they're actually in his mind interns, but he thinks they're elves. So he'd leave the room. The janitor would come in and be like, "This looks like trash," and just throw it in the trash.
It seems there's a severe lack of security going on here.
It definitely does, and I bet you the janitor there has more access to that book. He's in the break room reading it. You know? Sit down by the boiler on a little bench.
It just makes me think that Obama was smart enough that Joe's presidential daily briefing was just taken from a coloring book. Okay.
Connect the dots.
Binder alone being left on the desk. The binder would be in the bag. If I put the bag on my desk, it says take it away, I'm finished with it. If I took it and I left it next to my desk, that meant hold on to it till tomorrow.
Okay, so we're finally getting a answer to the question. If Joe Biden wanted to keep classified information, he would set it on the floor next to his desk.
Telling you, the janitor picked this shit up. There's those secret national security elves that wait till he leaves the room, then come out of the vent or something, like some really creepy version of that terrifying horror movie.
The top secret information he was getting, he would leave sitting on the floor, and they knew that meant this is top secret, but he still wants to read it. What could go wrong?
Was it next to the toilet? I mean, I just tossed it on the floor. Fuck it.
I'm seriously concerned about our classified materials now.
Look, dude, this just makes you wonder about that nuclear biscuit a lot more. That little envelope that
Yeah.
the president's supposed to carry. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
I see. And when you say next to your desk, does that mean actually on?
I don't know where the hell.
Okay. But someplace.
It got worse, Jack.
Of course it got worse. This is Joey Biden. He doesn't do anything small.
When you say next to your desk, I don't fucking know what I mean. Oh, fuck.
I'm telling you, the janitor has a stack of these things. Instead of girly magazines, he's got national security briefings.
And then on your desk.
Yeah, it'd be sitting against a drawer on the end table behind me, but it would not be. It was too big to put in the outbox.
What?
I have two boxes on my desk. An inbox, you probably do too if you're.
Why would you put it in the outbox if you were saving it?
Well, it's when he was done with it. I imagine he just held on to it before. I really don't think he understood the question. I think they're talking past each other.
You're able to keep up with what you're doing, and an outbox. Okay, so I would drop it. It's big. I mean, the briefcase is this big. I'd drop it on top of those two boxes and or on my desk when I left. That meant I'm finished with this particular.
Yes, but he's asking you about the stuff you're not finished with.
But if it was not in that particular place on your desk, then your staff knew.
They'd hold
You
it
gotta hang on.
and they'd hang on to it to the next day. And where they put it, I don't know.
That's very helpful.
I want to know how long after he'd leave the office and just willy-nilly throw shit around it, his staff came in to collect stuff.
And we may circle back to that in a little bit, but let me move on to, as long as we're talking about your staff, we've gotten to know the names of some of the folks who worked in your front office staff during your vice presidency. Michelle Smith.
Why are they bleeping names?
Maybe they were having an emergency alert. It was only a test, though.
All right. Whoops.
So I wanted to ask some questions relating to duties that those, I guess I'll call them front office staff. Is that an accurate description of them?
I never did, but sure,
Okay, well, what did you call them?
by their first names.
Okay,
I'm not being facetious.
So when you were describing them to other people, you would list all their names?
Yes.
He probably just called them staff, not front office staff, just staff.
No,
My staff. He did it a couple of minutes ago. He repeatedly said my staff.
he was talking about his wiener.
Oh God, this is painful.
No, when he talked to the staff, it was Jeeves, Alfred, Mr. Penny, and hey you boy.
What the guy's trying to get at here is, for legal reasons, to differentiate these people as a group. And you do this like when you write a law or something, right? Like here, henceforth known as, or in a lawsuit, henceforth known as defendant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
And by the way, a lot of the stuff would come back in, if my intelligence team came in and they gave me something, they'd come and pick it up.
Sir, those were called
Whatever it was.
neurologists.
So for example, now I'm trying to think back 10 years, or more than 10 years, I guess. No, about 10 years. But today, I had a briefing about what's going on in Israel, a detailed briefing in my residence upstairs in a room that's not dissimilar to this off of the bedroom. And it was a secure call, get finished, and I ordered one of my papers the way I want, and I got on the phone. I said, Jake and Tony Blinken. Jake's my national security guy. Tony Blinken is my Secretary of State. I said, guys, we got to follow up on what's going to happen here. And then I took my papers, looked at what I knew, put them in a pile. They're sitting in the middle of my desk. Now, somebody now will probably would come along and pick those up, or Tony may come in, or whomever. It's even though the residents and grab whatever it is that I wanted, or just leave it there for me to be able to review when I get back.
But how would they know
so what you just
whether
walked
to
through was an
take it or not?
example of your practice as president.
It was the same thing.
It was.
It was the same process. I just can't remember who the individuals were doing it.
Okay. But besides the PDB binder,
Yeah.
that was another flow of classified documents to you. Your intelligence team, when you were vice president, bringing you.
I realize this is painful for a lot of you, and I'm not interrupting all that much, but I really am kind of glued to this just for the historical significance of it. I don't know how anybody in the press listens to this and doesn't immediately quit for not doing their job for the last 5 years.
Classified material on other topics. That also happened when you were vice president.
Beyond PDB?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And were there ever occasions, I'll ask the same question I asked before about the PDB, about this other category of classified documents. Were there occasions when you thought, I want to hang on to this. I got to read it again. I got to think about it.
Oh God,
some
you're
more.
asking the same question.
I got to wait until something else comes.
If it was marked if it was in a binder or had a marking on a top secret, that cover page or eyes only, then I would always give that back and have them hold it wherever they held it. And for me to, But lots of times what happens is, Pat Moynihan was right, we overclassify everything.
True.
And one of the things that for example, every time Jake writes me a memo, he puts on it eyes only. Well, 99% of what's in there is not classified material. I said, Jake, now I'll read it, go through it, mark it up, ask questions on it for him to get back to me. But I finally said, Jake, only mark those things which really are eyes only, eyes only. But so
But see, they do that because it gives them the feeling of being important. That's what a lot of our classified stuff is. It's just people wanting to feel more important than they are.
Yeah.
Like, this is classified and I got to see it. It's a menu, fucker.
No, see, this is little Joey. He's an important man, see. He gets
Well-
this book every morning, marks it up, asks lots of questions, so he looks smart. Most of them are like, did the kite-eating tree ever take anything other than kites? Did it try peanut butter?
Do you believe for a minute that Joe Biden was like, hey, stop marking this for my eyes only? It's not that important.
No.
No,
I
that's
think
not in
he's-
his character at all.
I think he got disappointed every day they brought him the PDB, and he thought it was a PB&J. And he's like, where's my sandwich?
easy just to say, anything I'm writing must be eyes only. And 99.9% of it has nothing to do with anything I couldn't pick up and read out loud to the public. Am I making any sense to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Understood.
You are, however, that's not how the classification system works. Once something is classified like that, the only person who can immediately just declassify it is the president. The vice president actually has a procedure he has to go through. That's why I was making the distinction at the beginning when he said you and the president have different rules than everybody else. That's not true. The president does. The vice president has very limited. He just gets to see more.
Let me circle back now to the questions relating to Michelle,
Jesus
those
Christ.
folks who,
That sound is
folks who
annoying.
sat
Your staff. That's all. Just say staff.
at those desks right outside your West Wing office when you were vice president, that group of people.
Okay.
Did you ask those folks who sat at those desks right outside your West Wing office as vice president, did you ask them to keep
Spit it out.
did you ask them to hang on to classified material that you would like to consult again and have that maintained out of their office space?
I don't recall that.
He also doesn't recall where they stored it. So, I mean, he's already answered that part.
Do you recall where classified would be kept?
No.
You asked your staff to hang on to it.
No. I assume they locked it up in their drawers of their desk, or may be able to safe. I don't know.
So if you had asked your staff to,
It bothers me that the vice president didn't know where classified stuff was locked up.
Oh, I'm telling you, look, that they had this secret room that was locked in a bricked up chimney. And then this lady came and unbricked it. And all the little elf demons came out. And that's who would collect the book every day. And they stored it in their chimney. Wait, that was the plot of Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Never mind. I don't know.
I feel like even if I didn't know where they kept it, that there's got to be like a term they use for it. Like take it to the ice box kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Or the shredder.
Something like that. Yeah, something to where they're keeping it that he's like, yeah, lock this up. Now I don't know what the fuck they do with it. That bothers me.
Nah, it's in the boiler room. The janitor's reading it. Then he just throws it in and burns it up.
It really does come off like, and I've got this sense about Biden many, many times. For Mr. Man of the People, the little people that worked for him, he didn't care about them at all.
They mean nothing to him. They're
No.
just faceless servants.
Mm-hmm.
He's
hang on
Democrat,
to
dude.
some classified material that you didn't want to go away, quite yet. How did they know how long to hang on to? In other words,
It'd be on
would
his
they ever
desk.
come back to you and say, sir, it's been a few days. Do you still need this, or can we get rid of it?
I just want to make, because he said he didn't recall ever doing that. So what is this? Can you rephrase your question, Rob?
I'm sorry, I thought that he actually did remember
He
having
did.
some material stored away and locked away by his
I
staff.
said, I don't know where they locked it. There's things that I've said that I'm gonna need this tomorrow. They could very well have then given it back to the staff who wrote it
Right.
and remind them tomorrow I want to talk about it. They could have put it somewhere. I don't know.
So this next question that I'm asking right now is not about where it was kept, but rather how long.
Yeah.
I have no
Did
idea.
your staff know how to hang on to it? Did they have a process where they said, sir, it's been a couple days, do you still need this?
No, what would happen is whoever the person who wrote the memo that I want, they would probably come back and say, do you still want to talk about this? That's more likely.
Yeah, and I just wanted to know, so it's clear on the record, the president just used the word probably. I mean, in a given day, I just want to get clear, he's giving his best recollection of conversations, tons of material that could have
No,
come.
but no, see, that's a nonsense point. Because if this is something that he did so routinely, it should be burned into his Swiss cheese mind.
You would think, but look, the lawyers got to pipe up with words like probably,
He said,
because that's wiggle room for the feds, and
Yeah.
they're not about to let that happen.
His way, and he would have communicated his preferences and his wishes in various fashion. I just want to make that clear on the record. Okay.
well, that's for him to say, which he didn't. He said, I don't fucking know.
So back in the time you were serving as vice president, sir, did you bring classified material back to the Naval Observatory from the West Wing?
Naval Observatory is the vice president's mansion. For anybody who doesn't know that, that's what he's asking. Did you take it home from the White House?
I'm sure I did.
And can you tell us about what kinds of material you would take back with you? You talked about, would you take PDB binders back
No,
to the Naval Observatory?
PD binders were treated in a completely different way. They got locked up, and then when I finished reading, they got locked up, they get handed to whoever was gonna take them, and then usually the people from the intelligence community would come and get them.
Jesus.
I guess that's who came and got them.
I got to give it to the AI closed captioning right there, because he slurred through that entire thing. Okay.
And, and if I was.
And but
You said but.
Jesus. And but that should be a rap song.
Something home to continue to study it, or I have staff over to the house to continue this discussion. I would say I'm taking this with me, and I hand it back to whoever the staff person was by the clearance that I was talking to about it. But I don't recall any specifics about that. But I mean, that's how I would do it if I was going to do anything. And there's a lot of a lot of business got done as vice president from the residents. I mean, a lot of business got done, by the way. And so.
Yeah, because Obama didn't want
There was
him
a whole-
anywhere near him. He's like, Joe, you need to go home. We'll call you if we need you.
It was like a machine. You know, I'd leave something on the desk that I was working out of in the office I set up in the vice president's office. And they'd come and clear it out. And, you know, when I got finished, I mean, it was much more routine because it was all in one place. There were personnel on the ground like there are now.
This is him just rambling to try to
Not
answer a
many.
question. He doesn't remember the question.
That's this entire thing. What are you talking about?
No, there's been some where he's tried to answer and he just doesn't have any recollection, so he's bullshitting. He's clearly forgotten the question at this point.
But, and so,
So anyway,
that's all, that's how I remember.
So
I'm sorry, what was the last part? So that's how you remembered it. I just want to make sure it's picked up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it sounds like what you were describing is that the system of your staff handling classified material at the Naval Observatory was similar to the way that it was handled in your West Wing office, which is if you were done with classified, you left it on your desk and then your staff would take it and dispose of it. And I think I'm hearing that this same thing happened with respect to your workspace at the Naval Observatory.
Generic, yeah, I had 2 desks. I had a desk
Generic.
downside.
What? I'm going to just start answering things that my wife asked me. The first word is going to be generic.
well, generically, yes. I mean,
An office, I turned one of the rooms into a library. And I had a desk there. And I'd have meetings there. I'd call staff over there. We'd have meetings. I'd even, for example, I remember because I saw a picture recently. That's where I saw Xi Jinping. I had him at the vice president's residence. I had other leaders there. So there would occasionally be lunches there. So there was more done in the VP's residence than clearly when I wasn't vice president, when I was a senator, or when I.
What? Okay, I got to go back, Jack. I'm sorry. There was more done in the VP residence than when I wasn't vice president, when I was a senator. Is he suggesting as a senator he thought he was going to do a lot of work at the VP's residence?
I'm not even, that's like dream interpretation, dude. I'm not even taking a stab at this because it's just it's witchcraft at this point.
Out of office.
And I'm not I've had the pleasure.
As the lawyer at this point, don't you just go non compos mentis? We're done.
You would think, but I mean, we're not even an hour into this, and
No, yeah.
blah 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 blah. Ugh.
What was the timestamp on the penis story? Does anybody remember?
Hour and a half, roughly.
Let's just jump forward a little bit, see what we end up with.
How do we prevent the auto strike? What do we do?
Oh God, he's talking about the auto strike.
I think. Was she
Get a
the one
reveal where Jimmy
that was
Hoffa's
getting
buried.
material
Probably.
to the University of Delaware? And in other words, one of them focused on taking the things that she thought Delaware might want, or that would go to the, what's it called? The federal government.
The
archives. Or to
My house?
Delaware archive, yeah, or wherever we go. And so I think.
But wait, why Delaware? Isn't that where the beach house is that you just couldn't afford to live in?
Yeah, the Delaware archive.
He's clearly been asked about who decided or where documents were decided to go and who did that, and he's telling us that. And I'm just honestly, I'm shocked he remembers anybody's name. Michelle was probably Sharon or something like that.
Ew.
Helped organize what she thought they'd want, and because Delaware didn't want everything. I mean, as I recall. So, but I think they were the ones. I don't want to hold them responsible, get them in trouble, but I believe they were the ones who were packing up. Not maybe they weren't, but guys come and help pack it up. were deciding, where things were going, to the best of my knowledge.
And that's fine and dandy, Jack, that he had somebody else pack that shit up. But as the vice president, it was his duty to make sure no classified shit went where it wasn't supposed to be. That's your job, sir, not theirs.
And I think I just want to be sure I'm clear that I'm understanding here. Were there different people in charge of packing up different types of
No,
materials?
no, I didn't. I just left that to the other office to decide who packed what.
Okay, but some materials were going to the Delaware archives.
I assume, yes, I assume they were going, some things were going to the Delaware Archives, and some things went to, because I didn't direct them there, went to the
National Archives, the federal
National
government.
Archives, to the federal government. And
Jesus.
and some things went to the Biden Center.
Can't you just picture his face right now?
Yeah, it's all confused and scrunched up, and he's trying to think of words. This is painful, man.
Yeah, his whatever medicines they gave him to get through this have clearly worn off.
Yeah,
God
I think there's only so much you could do before the dementia just takes over.
This is what I'm finishing up as vice president, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, anyway.
And do you recall that there were
The
some
Biden get out of jail free card. But anyway.
things also that were going to go to your transition office?
I'm sure there probably were. They decided something. I let them decide where things would go. And
Way to throw your staff under the bus, man.
Oh yeah, those peons, that's their job.
It wasn't me. I'd let them decide all of that shit. All right. I bet this is how we get into the question we heard yesterday about him checking the stuff once it got to his house.
and the problem, my generic problem was, there's a lot of stuff. No, I really mean it. Like, I don't want them all in my house. I don't want all this, it's not like there are things that, like, what do you do with all the memorabilia? I'm not being facetious. What do you do with those?
Every time you say I'm not being facetious, we know you're being facetious.
Those statues, what do you do with those?
He had statues?
Yeah, those were his Oscars for best performance in a Little Joey film.
What do
I
you
don't know.
I've moved many times in my life, Jack, and I can say with absolute certainty I've never had to worry about moving the statues.
Well, look, you could just because you can't afford statuary like the poorest man in Congress. You're just not stealing the furniture right, I guess.
Joe, those were supposed to stay in the Naval Observatory.
Sir, those were statues of fallen Marines and headstones. Oh, they're mine now.
That's the bust of Alexander Hamilton. Put it back.
No, it's a free statue. You get one with the purchase of every one of the presidential daily briefings, right?
Came with a Happy Meal.
So I just let it to them.
And when you say you left it to them,
Front office. And I'm sure that Steve Ricchetti was my chief of staff, I think, wasn't he?
Was.
And so I'm sure it was more and more like a project with people who've been with me a long time.
Tyra, I thank you. The smacking of Biden's lips is like nails on a chalkboard. I hear you. It's probably driving Jack insane because he hates that noise.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah. I've heard it. I was trying not to bring attention to it so Jack could calm.
There are very few things that like really get under my skin. that's kind of one of them. So.
Oh, he remembers Steve's name. Steve probably died, and that's why he remembers him.
He sees his ghost.
Yeah.
I assume. Because look, one of the things that I see kids about, they did a deal in the Congress, the Senate, when there was talking about staff and staff rotation, and they concluded that the majority of my staff had been with me for like 20 years. There was continuity. People, either I was really easy.
What is he talking about?
What I was doing was interesting.
Staff
I'm
retention.
serious. Like, take off.
But why?
35 years.
Well, he started talking about staff members, and then he's like, kind of segued into who they were and how long they've been with him, and that's where he's at now. Maybe the hiring process. The first day he met old Stevie, and how much he liked him right away. Thought I could grow to like this boy.
There are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 members of the federal government in this room right now, and not one of them went and spilled the beans about how lost this motherfucker was.
Yeah, it kind of makes me sad that our tax money paid these people, and none of them told us. Like, not one of them felt any kind of social obligation to say, hey, this is seriously bad, guys.
Tell me again about how conspiracies can't last because nobody can keep their mouth shut.
Yeah.
Holy shit, we're 2 hours into this already? Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And we jumped ahead.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing we did, or we're going to be here all week. Dear God, dude, this is mind-numbing.
Yeah, it's painful.
A lot of people who were with me for.
How come Steve's name didn't get beat?
And who I never had to explain anything to after a while. No, I'm not being facetious.
Oh my
I'm
God.
You know, follow up on.
Look how it's spelled facetious here. That's amazing. They've had to do facetious several times, and they got it right until this. What is that version of facetious?
Physicist. It's like being a geometrist.
Okay.
On this, they knew the background. And I'm not talking foreign policy or classified. I'm just talking, how do we prevent the auto strike? What do we do to deal with boom? Anyway.
So when it comes to the process of.
So your staff was making decisions on. Oh my God, Jack. Oh. All right. Whatever.
Hacking up and sending your things from your West Wing office to various places. Do you ever recall having a meeting or a conversation with Mr. Machete or?
No.
Just it happened.
Yeah. That's my recollection. Now, maybe they had meetings, maybe they did ask me questions. I don't recall though.
Okay. Anything else in the West Wing office? Okay, so now let's talk about the Naval Observatory. So you've been living there for 8 years. So at the end of your vice presidency, what kinds of papers or documents or files?
Okay, we got to go back. So when he's talking about removing statues, those were from the White House. I thought he was talking about the Naval Observatory at that point.
I just assumed he was walking through the Capitol building and was like, I'll take that one. I like that one.
Oh, yeah, you definitely shouldn't have been removing statues from the White House, sir.
Or the Naval Observatory.
That's mine.
Preparing to leave out.
Well, I'm trying to think. A lot of my speeches, a lot of the initiatives I've taken, a lot of, there are probably some press clippings, I'm guessing. Trying to think, what else? Photographs.
At least he wasn't ripping off the Naval Observatory, Jack.
Not this time.
I don't know.
And where would those have been?
The bedding, the mattress.
The curtains.
Did you see Michelle Obama the other day bitching about how expensive it was to be president?
Yeah, the multimillionaire with the like $100 million deal with Netflix. Wow.
We had to buy our own food.
Oh. You mean like you would have normally?
Yeah. That must have been really hard with the president's $300,000 salary.
Yeah, and the two big bestseller books that he had.
You mentioned a couple of workspaces earlier.
Well, if you're talking about anything that was, a substantive matter, classified or otherwise, the fight in the Judiciary Committee over whether or not I was the guy who wrote the Violence Against Women Act. It really meant a lot to me. And so they might find stuff with the Violence Against Women Act in one section of a drawer or in the shelves of the library of the Naval Observatory or issues, relating to.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to pause it again because I want to get through it as quick as possible, but the difference from the beginning of this just an hour ago for him and where he's at now is striking.
It really is. But again, it's going to get worse as it goes on. And we know that, but even the like excerpts we read, hearing him say these things as opposed to us reading it, it's even more depressing, man.
Now I know why they were so adamant. No, we can't release that because you're just trying to make him look bad. Because some of the people were in this room and knew how bad it was.
I can definitely see why they didn't want this getting out.
Jesus Christ. And as an American, I'm glad this wasn't released while he was president because fuck.
Yeah.
Canada would have been like, we can get some new territory.
Yeah, Canada and the Chinese are going to just flood down. Oof.
Bless. All right.
I know it doesn't sound strange to you guys, but agriculture is a $4 billion industry. Agriculture is a $4 billion industry in the Delmarva Peninsula. And so, I have a lot of political things that.
I know I paused in the middle of the sentence, but that agriculture thing came out of nowhere, right?
I thought so, but I got nothing.
I don't know where they were, but I know I had material where I, like there's a whole.
Oh my God.
Bunch of stuff around about what made me run for president in the first place. And about how things worked out, for example, I was I got a job with them. I didn't take law school very seriously, but I won the international court competition. I was, as a matter of fact, the first time in tort class, we had a really difficult professor, very well-known professor.
What is he talking about?
And,
I have no fucking clue, dude.
Called my meeting, just, they do in law school, discuss a case, in your first torts class. And I'd never read the case, and I stood up and I spoke for 10 minutes. The whole class stood up, started clapping. And he said,
He just pulled, they all stood up and clapped. For the record, Joey was a very, very, very bad law school student.
Yeah, wasn't he in like the bottom 10% of his class or something?
He was 6th from the bottom of his law school class, yes.
Yeah, see, that's my territory, Joe. Stay out of it.
But he did so good on this case, he didn't even read that everybody else, the people who were much better than him, stood up and clapped for him. This self-aggrandizing cocksucker.
Look, Monkey, he clearly graduated with like 4 degrees, top of his class, and of course everybody clapped.
All right.
Mr. Biden, you're going to be a hell of a trial lawyer. He said, not a single thing you can do with that. But anyway, so, in law school,
Oh my God.
I got out of law school and I got, believe it or not, odd job offers from some prestigious law firms. And I was not sure where I wanted to go out west, or I wanted to move to Idaho, I thought. And so I was going to go out and interview at Boise Cascade. That's all I really did. But I took a job with.
Wasn't he asked about what he was taking from the Naval Observatory?
Yeah, and he was taking away some amazing stories about when he was a young man, up and coming law fighter, Joey Biden.
The best known trial firm in Delaware, did mostly civil defense issues. And I remember kind of
Jesus Christ.
with Amherst and Harvard saying, when he was interviewing me, he said, in those days today you'd be killed. You had to put your photograph in the upper right-hand corner when you're applying for a job. And he looked at me and said, I assume we expect to be hired on your looks. And I said,
That's some nervous fucking laughter going on right there.
This is why you need a wife in the room with you, so she can put her hand on your forearm, so you know, oh, I'm done talking right now.
I need to shut up. What?
Drunks know this because their woman does that to them. Like, that's enough. That's too much. He was very handsome and the smartest guy in his class, even though he didn't take it very seriously.
Everybody clapped. Yay! Yay, Joey!
and I thought the job was over. And I said, well, it would improve the look of your firm. I mean, I would just.
I will take dementia shit that never happened for 1,000.
No, it probably happened in a movie where it didn't happen to him, but it happened to somebody, and he remembers that because he stole the story from that. Probably a British prime minister or something.
Probably. And then the interviewer stood up and clapped.
Anyway, to make a long story short,
Too late.
they ended up offering me a job. And in Delaware, it used to have the lowest pass rate in the country because we're not big on encouraging lawyers to come and play in Delaware. It's a very tight bar. And so what happened was
If he tells us he got the highest score in bar history, I'm just turning it off.
Look, Monkey, we're not giving up just yet.
Thank you, Frosted. Joe's laugh are as genuine as Big Bang Theories. No shit. I don't know who the woman is in the room, but her laughs are very telling.
Yeah, they're like these awkward, humoring you kind of sounds.
Yeah.
I don't know. Isn't this the type of thing where we hold our audience hostage and make them give us money for this?
Yes.
Because they can't leave until we've gone through this or we reach a goal. Isn't that how people do this shit when they're tormenting their audiences? Sorry, audience.
Audience, is anybody over there on Rumble? Hi, if you are.
Yeah. Looks like there's 31 people on Rumble. Oh, okay. Mofo just caught up.
That was a little while ago, actually.
Oh, well, I just went over there, so it just happened for me.
Oh, okay. That's what I was asking. There, nothing has happened over there in a long, long time.
For 6 months. No matter what. And they don't get the bar exam until the middle of September. You don't get your results for the bar exam until January. And And so but I got hired in the meantime by this firm, appropriately named Prickett, Wardenberg, and Sanders. And make a long story, not quite so long, I was sitting second chair with the
Oh,
with the
fuck.
guy who ran the firm, Prickett, Mr. Prickett. And it was a young man who represented the construction companies. And I had to turn those. We have more oil refineries any place other than in Houston, Delaware, and Pennsylvania, Marcus Hook, that area. And this poor kid is down a 100-foot vessel chimney.
This is supposed to be about what it took.
Bubbles off of the inside when they shut the plant down once every, whatever, 8 months or 6 months.
Aren't investigators allowed to go? All right, let's get this back on topic.
Yeah, I think they're sitting there and sort of like us. You know, one of them tapped the other one on, like the one guy was leaning forward to say something. The other guy tapped him on the arm and was like, let's see where this goes. just let it happen.
It's one of those few times I wish I had a camera on me because I'm literally sitting here slack-jawed listening to this. Because like you pointed out, we read a lot of this, but it doesn't come off the same as when you actually hear it from him.
Yeah, we were doing it with a jokey voice and goofing around. This is just creepy and weird.
And wow, we've not been shy about saying we thought this man was demented. But even in the glimpses we've got of it, like in the debate and stuff, seeing this behind the scenes and how quickly that this happened. Jack, for the record, where they're at, the local time there in DC when this takes place right now is barely after 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, geez.
And he's sundowning this hard already.
Yeah, man, he is really, really far gone. Real quickly, though, thank you, Tyrite. And I tied an onion to my belt because that was the style of the time. Night all, I'm going to use this to go back to sleep. Well, thank you, Tyrite, but you're probably going to have nightmares. Just throwing that out there now. Because, like, we made this kind of fun and silly when we read it. And we were doing, our Biden impersonations and whatnot. But, dear God, this is just... I don't know. I've seen serial killer interviews that didn't make me this sad.
Yeah. And look, we're probably going to end this after we hear the nut story because it's just getting mean. And this is why I, even with the little bit we heard yesterday, I'm like, there's no way they were going to convict this guy. But everybody who was around him should be convicted of elder abuse.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. How can his wife put him in this position?
I don't know, but she's evil for doing it.
Look, you guys know Lady Monkey with like the nipple streams and stuff like that. Takes a little joy in her. But when it comes to my actual health and stuff, she is very protective of me. And I don't see that from Jill. I see Jill protecting herself with him.
Yeah,
so like,
Jill wanted to be living at the White House. She wanted the prestige.
Yeah. How the fuck do you not care about your spouse like this?
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Fuck.
2 months or a year, whatever it is. And he was wearing the wrong pants, wrong jeans.
This is it.
And he was sparked and caught fire. Got caught in the containment vessel and lost part of his penis and one of his testicles. And he was 23 years old. And I sat through his presentation with the senior.
We have to go back because I didn't realize that's where we were. So the penis story came up when he was asked what he had or took from the Naval Observatory.
Took a statue of this man's penis. They called it the crispy wiener.
All right, I'm backing this up because I want to get the full thing without my interruption there. But he was asked about what he took, and right now he's telling the story about how he sat second chair with the head of the law firm he was at. And this story.
Whatever, 8 months or 6 months or a year, whatever it is. And he was wearing the wrong pants, wrong jeans. And he was sparked, caught fire. He got caught in the containment vessel and lost part of his penis and one of his testicles. And he was 23 years old. And I sat through his presentation with the senior. We had in Delaware, which is the Bond family had no influence, of course, contributory negligence. If you were slightly contributory negligence, you were out. And so the senior partner turned to me and said, write a memo for tomorrow. We're going to make a motion to dismiss after you present this case. So I did. I wrote this memo, and son of a bitch, it prevailed. And I looked over at that kid and his wife home with 2 little kids. I thought, son of a bitch, I'm in the wrong business. I'm not made for this. And there's a famous club called the Wilmington Club. No blacks, Catholics have ever been allowed to be members. They're the Bond family thing. And a place called the Wilmington Club. And he thought he was doing it. He said, take lunch at the moment. I said, the only time I ever lied, I can remember looking somebody in the eye. I mean it sincerely.
Stop right there. The only time he ever lied looking someone in the eye.
Well, that's why he doesn't make eye contact anymore.
No. He's on camera with that guy who wasn't questioning his academic career, looking that man in the eye, lying to him about his academic career.
Well,
That's
we don't
on
count
film.
That was
That
a
is
free
on
one.
film.
No, that was a mulligan. You don't count that one.
Okay. I'm not being facetious.
I said, oh, my dad's coming in today. I was going to say, okay, he didn't give a damn what I wanted. I walked across and walked into the second basement of a public building and walked in with a guy named Frank.
Not
He said,
me.
I want a job as a public defender. He said, don't you work for Prickett? I said, you okay? Like, what's the hell the matter with you? And I quickly became a public defender. The process of that was, that's what got me, and I had been involved with civil rights movement. That got me deeply involved in trying to reform the Democratic Party, which was a Southern Democratic Party. We were
In Delaware?
Yes.
Oh, fuck me.
slave state by law. We were on the border states, so we couldn't figure out. Anyway, but the Democratic Party was a conservative party in Delaware. The Bond family ran the Republican Party, but they were like a Rockefeller Republicans at the time. And so I got involved with a group of people trying to reform the Democratic Party. And the whole point of telling you all this is I had a lot of material that I kept notes on whereas I was taking on the Democratic Party. And they came to me and asked me to, this group, this new Democratic Coalition. I had, in the meantime, it's 2 years down the road, I was 26 years old, 27.
Oh my God.
And I went to work part-time for a criminal defense firm, mainly, and a real estate firm. There were 5 people. And so I was no longer a public defender because I couldn't be public defender and work for that firm. And one thing led to another. And
He thinks a public defender's a firm? This hurts.
I mean,
No.
yeah.
This part here, you read in your Biden voice in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
And that was funny. But you're right. This is just, wow.
It's kind of sad, isn't it?
and I joined this group to try to reform the party. And they came to me about, and I was making the case, we just got to get more candidates to run. We're not represented. And the southern part of the state of Delaware talk at you like, yes, for real, you go down. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. Oh, damn, boy, I don't agree with a damn thing you say, but at least I know where you stand. That's how they talk. And
It's weird to add that Southern accent in Delaware.
Well, they were Southern Delaware. See,
You don't even get that accent in Northern Virginia. All right.
shut up with your facts.
and it was solidly Democrat, Southern Democrat. We were the only state in the nation occupied by the military for 10 months with drawn bayonets in every corner when Dr. King was assassinated. And that's really what got me going. Long story, and I'll end because it relates to maybe some of the other things you may ask about, is that
Nothing you have said in the last 5 minutes relates to anything that will or was asked.
It never has been. It never will be.
Fuck.
I had a lot of material that I did recently. When you're the youngest guy in the room, you get to turn the lights on and off. And so I amassed a lot of material making the case why the party had to change.
But why would that be? Okay. Let's give him benefit of the doubt, Jack. And he's got, I think what he's trying to say is he has memorabilia from all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Why would that be in the Naval Observatory?
I don't know why any of this makes any relevance whatsoever to anything he's been asked.
No, I hear you on that. But let's say you get a job. Let's say you become vice president, right?
Okay.
And you have all of this stuff from 30 years ago. Are you going to move that into your temporary home?
No.
Or are you going to put that in some storage or in your main house?
It'd probably be in my main house. Although it sounds like he's been looting statuary from the
Yes.
government for decades and has been fencing it on the black market. I think we should look into him for art theft.
He got an eBay account.
Yeah. Like, are any of the big art heists Biden related?
Jesus Christ. All right, we're going to let him finish the answer, and then we're going to be done with this shit.
Then we're going to insist on an audit of the National Archives to find out where all the art is. Like, the Smithsonian Institute better have some good answers if any of their statues are missing.
About 10 months in, a group from the area where I lived came to me and said they wanted me to run for the state senate. I said, no, I can't do that. I'm thinking of starting my own law firm. I can't do that. And because they meet in Dover, and then next thing that happened was they came back about 3 weeks later and said we went to the office I was in. At the time, I had now maybe started my own
The
office.
fuck is he talking about?
And I didn't realize, my age, never started an own law firm. I hired 2 lawyers. I had no freaking money, but I hired them and paid them more than I was going to make. And I started this firm. And I remember standing looking out over the public building. They said, "How about running for the county council?" I said, "No, I can't go down." He said, "They meet right across the street there. Only twice a week at night. You can do this." So to make a long story short, I ended up doing it. But I wanted to be sure that I was going to lose. Because I ran in a district that no one's ever won, Democrats ever won, and I won.
And everybody clapped.
Next thing you know, I'm in a tough position. My generic point was there was a lot of material that I had amassed that I wanted to save. I probably still have it somewhere. And so that stuff would travel wherever the hell I was.
So, sir, that material that you remember having, again, trying to steer us back to the end of your vice presidency.
All right. There's the penis story, Jack, in its entirety. Oh, dear Christ.
It's funnier when we did it. It's just sad.
It was... Again, I will throw this in, and I will probably end up listening to this whole thing on my own. But it's tragic.
Dude, it just gets worse as it goes on too. He's slowing down. He's muttering. It's borderline incoherent at times. Seriously, this is sad.
I don't even know how I feel right now. This is when we would talk about, the serious side of how bad off he was. I do feel bad for the man, even thinking he's been a shit his whole life and his whole political career. Going through dementia and stuff, that can't be easy on the person going through it or anybody around them.
Yeah.
And in that, I have a lot of empathy for that. But I also have a lot of fear right now about the kind of people who were in charge of things and let that guy continue on in the role he had. Because as much as they wanted to have control of him, he was the president. And if he decided, hey, we're going to bomb New Mexico, who could actually stop him?
Yeah, that's kind of the frightening part, is who was in charge and why did they think they were in charge? Because somebody was making decisions for him. There's no way he was making coherent decisions at any given time. So somebody else was calling the shots. Who was it, and why were they doing it when nobody elected them? And why did they allow this to go on so long for their own personal gain? Because this is about power and control. This is terrifying that this was our president for a while.
Yeah.
But Keister Money made a good point. Maybe the documents were hidden inside the statues.
Maybe. You did make the National Treasure joke yesterday.
Yeah.
Dangerous. Thank you so much. I'm going to read both of these together. So thank you. Thank you.
Do you want me to read them? He said they're kind of...
I got it. No. It's all right. Have you ever had a dream that you... Actually, I think it works better with my eyesight. Have you ever had a dream that you want them to do you so much you could do anything? Joe Biden. Yeah, you're not far off from what we actually listen to.
It's like the "you have a dream" speech.
God damn.
Oh man, I had a dream. Potato chips and Puerto Ricans.
We knew it was bad from his public appearances. And again, this is why they did not want this released, because nobody can claim that they were around Joe Biden and didn't know he was diminished. Bullshit. There's no way this slipped past everybody.
No, it's unrealistic, to say the least. Dear God.
I guarantee you even the fucking janitor knew this man was gone.
Well, the janitor was probably reading all those presidential briefings. What if the janitor was actually in charge of everything? Because he's the only one that was reading the briefings.
Maybe.
And he's in there like, I got to empty the trash can. Mr. President, don't sign that bill.
Oof. What do you think about the people who are trying to overturn the Biden pardons?
They might be able to do it if they were all signed with AutoPen. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that, especially after this leaked.
Mm-hmm.
And those pardons came after this. You can't tell me he made cogent decisions on who was not to be charged with stuff after hearing this rambling nonsense.
We have cases where somebody's just changed their will after dementia set in, and the court is like, oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if this got to the Supreme Court and they said, no, these are invalid because he didn't actually sign them and he wasn't compos mentis. Because what is the first thing they're going to put in their evidence files? It's going to be audio like this, where it's an extended interview, and he's all over the goddamn place, not making any sense. They're going to be like, look, this goes to state of mind.
How many pardons did he supposedly sign? It was over 1,000, wasn't it? It was like 800?
Something ridiculous like that.
More than anyone ever, if I remember correctly. Job for 9, thank you so much. Our government hates us, loved alive. Oh, thank you. And thanks for stopping in. Thank you for the donation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I promise you it's usually funnier than this, but god damn.
But I don't like Joe Biden. I think he was always a piece of shit and grandstanding and arrogant and a liar. But this is cruel. This is cruelty.
That man should have been somewhere being taken care of on a pretty regular basis, not just, oh God, I fuck his whole family for putting him through that shit.
Yeah.
All right, Jack. Let's talk about some black fatigue again.
Oh man, we're hitting all the hot button issues of the day.
Where is my? Oh, why is my other one not here anymore? Okay, we're just going to be at the top of the screen from now on. Anyway, this gentleman on your screen, you'll notice that there's a picture, and then in the picture it says 101 damnations. This is I think October. I can't see it on the screen, but a 2022 New York Post cover story. The man on the screen had been arrested 101 times.
Yeah.
Over the last 33 months, he's averaged one arrest every fucking month. He is
Which
up
is
to
pretty impressive.
He is up to 134 arrests.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got goals, I guess. Maybe he's shooting for 1,000. But the fact that he's not in jail for an extended period of time tells me that there's something wrong with the system.
Well, he has spent hard time in prison. He got one of his sentences was 10 years. He's in his 50s, and he's got 134 arrests, and at least 10 years of his life was spent in prison. Check.
Yeah, well, he doesn't seem to have learned not to do that. Real quick though, thank you, Evolved Potato. We know for a fact that some of those pardons were signed with an auto pen at the White House when Biden wasn't even in DC. Yeah, that's why some of them at least are going to end up being invalid. I think they're going to start looking at the signatures, and they're all going to match, and they're all going to get thrown out because he didn't actually sign them.
Peter says, what's he getting arrested for? Well, there's a hint on the screen. Notice there's a picture of a target there.
Yeah. A lot. Hang on. Thank you, Frosted Glass. When Joe has to talk for more than 5 minutes, he sounds like Darth Vader after Luke takes his mask off in Return of the Jedi. But instead of saying a couple lines and dying, he tells a 5-hour story. So I told her, I don't like sand, and everybody clapped. Gets in everywhere. And then I killed the younglings.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah. Dear God.
So our friend here, he has been arrested for robbery, grand larceny, shoplifting. He once went into a Target, Jack, and stole $1,000 worth of vitamins and 3 pairs of reading glasses.
That's a weird combination.
Right?
What are you, MacGyver, build an airplane? I don't. What do you need?
No, this is going to shock you. The last time they arrested him, he had cocaine and heroin on him.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
He's got a drug problem, and this is how he pays for it.
No, I am the shocked.
But since he's in New York and his crimes, or at least the ones from the last 3 years or 2.5 years, aren't really major crimes, there's no bail.
Yeah, he just gets out and then he's out there doing it again while he's awaiting trial.
Yep. And with his latest arrest, the same thing has happened. They've let him go, and he's like, come back. I think it's this Monday he's supposed to go to trial, or see a judge. And they interviewed a cop in the story. And he's like, he ain't gonna show up. He's just gonna leave, and they'll issue a warrant for him, and then we'll arrest him eventually, and then they'll do the same thing, and we'll just complete the cycle.
Yeah.
Any of you in New York, how do you feel about being there right now? This soft on crime bullshit. This motherfucker steals thousands of dollars worth of shit because he is taking a lot of money, Jack. It was $1,115 worth of vitamins in that one run.
I mean, you got to be in good shape if you're going to continue your crime spree, I guess.
That's not petty theft. That's larceny. That's grand larceny.
Yeah, well, look, a little bit of grand theft is he just wanted to live out the video game experience, I guess. I don't know. No, New York is like a Los Angeles or all of California, I should say, where they pretty much don't give a shit and they'll reward criminals. That's why it's turning all dumpy again. They're undoing everything Giuliani did in the late 70s, early 80s.
That can't be right. Actually, grand larceny might be $2,000 if I remember, and it does depend on your jurisdiction. But it's more than petty theft. This is actual burglary. This is, you should be doing hard time for this.
Yeah, most felony level theft is between $600 and $1,000, depending on state. But I'm sure
no.
1,000 over there.
Area, no, not 1,000 vitamins, $1,000 worth of vitamins. If I said 1,000 vitamins, I said it wrong. That's my mistake. But $1,000 worth of vitamins.
That's still a lot of vitamins. One
It
of those
is.
bottles is like $4 or $5.
It depends on how big. I mean, some of them can be upwards of $20, but even at $20,
Yeah, you're talking
you're-
like a cart full of stuff.
yeah.
What do you do?
There's,
Just push it out the back?
I don't know why they don't have somebody at the door. It would be worth it to pay somebody to stand at the door and tackle this man if he tried coming in.
I mean,
'Cause-
that's usually what they do.
He's not hitting a whole bunch of different places. He keeps hitting the same places.
Look, he's close to home and it's convenient, or close to his dealer, depending.
Yeah. But see, he's got all of these charges built up. Uh-oh, fuck. I forgot to resize us. There we go. I don't know why it didn't resize automatically. It should have.
StreamYard's likes ducks. That's their,
I
their
guess.
logo thing.
He has all of these individual charges, so each one of them are misdemeanors or low felonies, and they don't count for bail, so he just gets out to keep his crime spree up. 134 arrests.
It's ridiculous.
At what point do you just say, no, you're done?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it'll shock you. After he got out of prison on his 10-year stint, which I believe he only served 8 years of, but he's done a couple of stints. It was within a month he was busted again. Good job out there with your no cash bail bullshit, or your no bail bullshit. Sorry. What else we got? Oh no, I don't want to watch Ratchet Chick. No, don't really care about that one. All right, Jack, you got anything tonight?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much stupid going on.
I haven't. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, did you see the spokes lady that was out for the prison escape in New Orleans? The glasses she had on.
No, I didn't. I haven't seen anything about that since the original stories I saw.
Oh well, she's like a major. Just check this shit out, man. It's just annoying. Like, you look so unprofessional. Side chat.
Okay. Let's see. Oh my God. Why is she wearing villain glasses?
That's what I said. I was like, what the shit, man? What are you doing? Take yourself seriously.
Okay.
I can't take this person even remotely seriously. She walks up to tell us, give a briefing. She's a major in the police department there. I'm like, you're a major and you look like a fucking clown.
I feel like she should start off with riddle me this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, is this a joke?
Good afternoon, all. I am Major Stephanie Minta Gibson.
She kind of reminds me of what was her name? The chick from Police Academy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't remember her name either. Stop or I'll shoot.
Yeah, Hooks. Hooks. That was her name. Harley Quinn. God, that's ugh. Anyhow. This story was sent to me by somebody who lives in the area, so I'm not gonna out him as that. Bethany Select woman, Connecticut State Police failed to act amid child abuse allegations, report finds. And so one of the members of this board was accused of molesting children, Jack.
Oh shit.
And the report singled out Bethany First Select woman Paula Kafriskescro, I don't know, whose role is similar to that of a mayor with special ire, finding evidence that her first reaction to the allegations was concern for the reputation of the accused town employee whose family this person has a close personal relationship with. The jaw-dropping report says the First Select woman acted with indifference to the accusations, and once the allegations surfaced publicly, she sought to, quote, circle the wagons and demanded that other town officials have her back, while blame shifted to other towns workers, saying, "It is their heads or mine."
That's not in any way intimidation, is it?
It also lays out years of historical indifference among other town officials, many of whom are related to each other. You know, I was just having a discussion with my son the other day about small town politics, and he seems to think his dad's a little out of touch, because I was like, you don't understand how small town politics actually works. Because he asked me, like, why don't we have like stories written around here about, you know, how bad the town council is? Like, because it's a small town.
Yeah, because they all know
They'll
to
destroy
shut
you.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be ostracized and they'll target you, and yeah, it's not how any of that works. Unless you really want to have your tires flattened every day and nobody at any local business to do anything with you.
Credible accusations against somebody molesting children, and this lady was like, we got to protect him. Got to keep him safe. Oh, I hate small towns, Jack.
I hate the mentality of that. That's so ridiculous.
What was that? No, that was another thing. I think we've been through most everything. I'm not done streaming yet, though. But I want to keep going.
Well, I have a video. I don't think you're going to like it, though.
We'll get to that in 1 second. I do have one story I wanted to talk about. Did you see the story? I forgot about this one. Sorry. The story about the lady who's being kept alive so that her baby doesn't die.
Yeah.
So, I believe it's in Georgia. Lady is 9 weeks pregnant, and she goes to the hospital because she's not feeling well, and they give her a couple of medicines and send her home. Later that night, her boyfriend wakes up because she is having fits in bed, and they take her to the hospital and find out she has massive brain clots all over the place, blood clots in her brain. And they pronounce her brain dead. But they're keeping her body alive so that they can have the baby. And her grandma, or the mother and the child's grandma, came out and like, this ain't fair. We should be able to kill my daughter. Be able to kill my grandson. And they're blaming it on the abortion laws, Jack.
Oh, of course they are.
The abortion laws won't let them abort this child, which I feel like with a brain dead person, that that's not even the question. Why would you abort the child before you took her off life support? Life support.
Life support.
That just seems like you like killing babies, honestly.
They do.
I know.
They love a good dead baby. It makes Moloch happy.
The grandmother says, or the mother, whatever, the chick who goes to the paper. This all popped up on my radar because someone was like, you don't have any right to talk about their personal business. The bitch went to the news. It's not her personal business anymore. Well, here's where I stand on this. The mom clearly wanted the baby. She was 9 weeks along, and that's plenty of time to go have it sucked out if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And grandma, if you watch the video that accompanies the story, she's worried that she's going to have to take care of the kid and it might turn out retarded. And since it might turn out retarded and she'd be the one that has to raise it, I don't know why, because the dad is there. She should get a say in whether or not to abort the kid.
Does the dad have a smoking habit?
Not that I know of.
I'm going out for smokes.
And these people are like, no, by the way, she's at 21 weeks now. They're going to keep her alive till 32 weeks and deliver the baby then. There's no reason to suggest that this child is in any way developmentally disabled at this point. But grandma's like, kill them both.
I mean, I can see it from both sides, because on one hand, she's already gone, and maybe she's trapped inside the body, like her soul is trapped inside the body. I know there's some religious people that believe that as long as the body's alive, your soul's in there. But at the same time, like, the kid is still viable, so you don't want to kill the child because the mother is no longer here. That's one of the double-edged swords of technology. We have the technology to keep the body alive, even though that person isn't, there anymore, so they could keep the baby alive. I don't know. It's a tough moral dilemma, I think.
I just disagree. I don't think it's if they had made the religious argument, at least then I could understand it, but she didn't. Her worry is that she's going to be inconvenienced. You could give the kid up for adoption.
If that's all it is, then that's kind of gross to kill the baby just because you don't want to take care of it.
Yeah, so
I think that's pretty morally reprehensible.
For me, it would be very hard to have my daughter still alive. Clearly not there, though. Only being kept alive by machine for several weeks. But turning off those machines kills my grandchild.
Yeah.
No, that's not even a fucking question. I don't understand how it could be for anyone.
I don't know. I could see the hospital trying not to keep her alive because of the expense that they're going to have to incur.
The hospital's like, we can't take her off because of the abortion law, so they're not even worried about it. Yeah, but I get what you're saying. Is this one? Somebody asked for the link to it. Give me a second. I got to find it. Oh, here we go. So if you read this or read the story and there is an accompanying video, I recommend both. Oh, wait, is that going to be too long for YouTube? No, it looks like it came through. Fucking Twitter link, unfortunately. It's to the NBC thing, but it's the redirect link for it. So sorry, guys. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you guys can get to it from there, but just look up family forces keep brain dead. That you can see it in the link there. But yeah, if you just read the article, you get that grandma just thinks that they should have a thing, because she even says we not necessarily gonna kill her anyway. It should just be our choice. And I can get that understanding. But when you watch the video and she starts talking about how it could be blind or it could be crippled, and I'm 50 and my husband's 50, and it's gonna fall on us to help raise it with the father. Like, no, there's no reason it has to fall on you. It's nice if you help.
Yeah.
But
I don't think inconvenience is a reason for killing children.
no. How about honor your daughter's wishes? She clearly wanted that kid. Anyway. The other one, real quick. Pearl has popped her head up. She's making a documentary, Jack, about divorce. She has raised $22,000 for her documentary about divorce, which from the trailer she put up mostly consists of clips from her show. But she puts out this other video where she's talking about she understands why men give in to women. It's not that they're afraid of women. They're afraid of the societal consequences because she's been through it. You see, she's upset some men and they've done things. And she says this, like, call me a pedophile, where there's no reason whatsoever to think that about me. This is the woman who once put up that 16-year-old girls are hotter than 40-year-old women. Her word, hotter. 16-year-old girls, but there is no reason to call her a pedo.
It's some interesting word choices there.
Yeah, maybe pedo's going. What I think the actual term is hebephile, but there's plenty of reason to call you that, Pearl. Your own tweets, you dirty bitch. Even if I agree with her documentary when it comes out, I'm going to come on here and make fun of it. Because it's Pearl. Jack, what the fuck is this?
What's what? I don't know what you're talking about.
The thing you sent.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. That just showed up there. That's Older Boys did it.
Oh my dear God. All right, make it as big as it can be to scare the audience too.
You should see the one that I can't. I'll DM you one that
Cool.
you probably saw.
I'm a pastor. Of course, I believe that all lives matter, but right now, Black lives are the ones under attack.
Only from other Black people. Just saying. Black on Black crime is where most Black lives are lost, other than, medically.
I want you to take a look at this person and think about if they care.
I know. Lesbians, what is it with the shaved side of the head?
That's the hero haircut. It's the in look with the lesbians these days.
I miss when they just had dyke spikes.
Yeah, or just like short hair, like boy haircuts. They had the Justin Bieber hairdo.
I'm a pastor. Of course, I take seriously God's command to welcome those who are foreigners in your land, because you too are once strangers in a strange land. I'm a pastor. Of course, I believe in the separation of church and state, which means theology never gets codified into law.
Ever? What about the prohibition against murder?
She's a pastor, Monkey. She cares. You don't. You're not a pastor. Do you have a church? No.
I
Do you have a
don't.
sanctuary in your home? No, I didn't think so. It's just like you don't have a laboratory, so you can't be a preacher scientist.
Can I just point out how sad this chapel is? That is
Well,
pathetic.
I mean,
all right, whatever. She got it in a
I'm
mobile
a
home.
pastor. Of course, I believe in healing brokenness, but you will never hear about shame, judgment, or even sin at this.
that's the part that I was like, I gotta show this one.
I'm sorry.
You will never hear about shame, judgment, or even sin at this church.
Have you ever been to a church that didn't have any of those things? Like, look, I grew up Methodist, right?
Mhm.
Shame and sin were pretty heavily focused on.
How, as a pastor, can you have a church where you never mention sin and preach the Bible?
I don't know. Well, you could not be Christian, I guess.
it kind of starts with a couple of crimes, couple of sins.
Yeah, like cardinal sins. One's even called original.
You have the originals. You have the murder of Abel.
Yeah. I mean, you have all kinds of original sins there. So, I mean, that first book covers a lot of this stuff. And the do's and don'ts, later on you get to the newer edition, the volume 2, if you will, where the Jesus fella said to somebody, "Go forth and sin no more."
How do you preach the 10 Commandments without talking about sin? And look, guys, I'm not a religious person, so I'm not making the religious argument. I just know what the religious arguments are. And if you're going to claim that you're a pastor, I feel like those should be the things you're actually talking about. Like you're not supposed to sin. That's kind of how you get in God's good graces.
It's kind of an important part of that book.
Jesus.
Like almost a central theme, if you will.
This lady needs Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dangerous. Thank you, Dangerous. Shit like this tells me they have little to no confidence in the either belief, religious/political. You don't need to appeal to God if you have total belief in your politics. I'm not sure I understand that part. She's kind of trying to make the argument that well, you can do whatever you want, however you want to, but it's a religion because she said so. But it doesn't belong in politics at all. Okay. All right.
Yeah, these are nonsense churches. They're not real churches. They're just social functionaries that are pushing an agenda.
How do you have Noah's fucking Ark as your glass artwork there if you can't talk about sin? You do know why God flooded the earth, right?
It wasn't for sin and hedonism, monkey. No.
How dry the plants were looking.
Yeah, he was just like, needs a little rain there. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah. Just needed a little bit of new art decoration, so he threw some pretty rocks down from the sky for him.
Good Lord Almighty. All right.
Pastor, of course, I believe that all lives are sacred, which means that women and those who can bear children should make the decisions that they, their doctor, their family, and their God believes is best for them.
I believe all lives matter, so you can kill your kids.
Not very preacher-like, if you ask me. They seem to be pretty big on life being sacred.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that seems to go across the board with the Easter worshipers.
Is this the church of hedon lesbianism?
I guess so. I mean, it's the church of what's happening now, because anything goes.
Jesus.
I'm a pastor. Of course, I believe in the salvific nature of the cross, but it was because Jesus non-violently stood up to empire and refused to fight back or back down, not because some immature, unhealthy parent of a God required blood and guts.
You haven't read the Bible, have you?
You just called God immature.
She did.
That's it's probably not a good thing to do.
She really needs to read the Old Testament.
Yeah, God really wanted you to do things his way or else.
He wiped all but 8 people off the face of the fucking earth over this shit.
I'm a pastor. Of course, I believe we should be exactly as God designed us to be, which means that queer lives are worthy, divine, beloved, and acceptable exactly as they are. No exceptions.
So you don't believe trans people then?
You also would have a serious issue with Book of Leviticus.
No shit. That woman's going to hell. Yeah, that's called blasphemy, lady.
I suspect her entire church is blasphemous.
It's one of those sins you don't want to acknowledge. Jesus Christ. And it's clearly supposed to be a Christian denomination. I mean, she honors the cross. There's a crucifix at the front of her church, or her lesbian dance hall, whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Can I call it a molestation shack? We have a problem with this in Christianity. This rise of like the pseudo Christians. You see it a lot with like Joel Osteen too. He says he's a Christian, but I've watched a couple of his sermons. He's never mentioned Jesus, and he never quotes the Bible. He just does some generic like behavior modification stuff.
Again, I'm not religious, but that is just disrespectful, is what that is.
Yeah, a little bit.
Can you imagine what would happen to an imam if they came out and just repeated everything she said?
Oh my God, that person would be dead.
I'm an imam, but I believe you can kill your children and that you shouldn't be violent at all and that God doesn't smite anybody. And yeah, he'd be killed.
Okay.
That motherfucker would be dead in a week.
Yeah. Look, if you want to believe that crap, that's fine, but you're not a Christian.
No.
That goes against the teachings of Christianity. Look, everybody's welcome in the church because they want you to come in and repent, but that doesn't mean you're not a sinner. And that's, we've gotten so far away from shame and people correcting bad behavior. That's why you see people acting a fool in like Popeye's restaurants or whatever. You know, people acting like assholes at airports because there's no consequences. There's no sense of like, this is embarrassing. I shouldn't be doing this.
Sorry, I just saw this thing from what did he used to go by? Shit, I haven't seen him in forever. Bass. I don't know if you remember him, Jack. Long time ago. I haven't seen him in forever. But he just shared a story. Hot wifing is a bizarre new sex trend, but couples swear it's saving their marriages. And he said, but you folks, he uses a different word because he's black and can, have black fatigue. Now I have to find out what hot wifing is.
I don't know. You want me to grab your Rumble right here?
Sure.
Thank you, Dangerous Spaces. Romans 3:23 through 24. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. Yeah, they were real big on this. Everybody has sinned, and it's only because Jesus died for your sins. That's the whole concept of the New Testament, is he died for your sins.
Thank you, The Logical Male. Is the pastor related to that other pastor lecturing Trump in the cathedral? I don't know what that... I don't know about... Excuse me, about that pastor lecturing Trump. Which one are we talking about?
There was a clip a couple weeks back. We covered it where Trump was at some service and...
Oh, yeah.
No, they're just both scumbags and playing politics. That's all.
All right. The wild world of hot wifing. The kink couples swear saved their marriages. Open marriages need... it's just open marriage bullshit.
It's cuckolding.
Or
as I call it, Rakeda nose candy wifing.
All right, hot wifing has one very specific dynamic. A straight married man encourages his wife to hook up with other people while he watches. It's cuckolding with a twist. It's less about humiliation and more about empowerment.
I don't see how that's a twist on anything. That's not about empowerment. Empowerment for who?
Her.
Yeah.
That's it. If your wife is like, hey, to make our relationship better, you need to watch me get plowed and you go for it. You are the cuck she thinks you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's some crazy kink that you're both into, it's going to destroy your relationship, just to let you know, but fine. But I don't for a minute believe that guys are like, you know what would really fix our relationship? If I watched you moan in pleasure under another man.
From the closet.
Could you emasculate me? That would be just so great for our relationship.
That'd be super. Everybody's got their weird thing, and if that's yours, fine. But not for me. I'm not okay with that.
It's not going to work out, and it's a bad idea.
Yeah, I've never seen a polyamorous relationship work out.
No, they don't. They always fail, and one of the people goes off to make a couple, a monogamous couple with someone else.
Yeah.
And then they're like, he cheated on me. I saw one of those where some chick, she was upset that she introduced the idea of open relationships, and then her man left and hooked up with the other chick and got married and has a traditional family. Like, he cheated on me. No, bitch, you told him he could.
Yeah.
That's not cheating.
No, that's your fault.
No, my pussy's just so good. Nobody would ever leave me. Oh, I hate these people. I don't care about that. I want a good, funny video to rip into. Who do we have on Libs of TikTok these days? I don't check her out very often. Don't care. Really don't care about Tim Walls.
Oh God.
Yeah, she's really not going over actual people. Why? Where's all my fun? Ooh, that chick looks retarded.
Where's all my fun? Ooh, she looks retarded.
Oh my God. I read the tweet that this is attached to, and it confirms something that I want to see if you're going to notice right away that I did. All right, Jack, do you notice anything about this person?
Hold on, let me switch screens here. They're fat.
Is that all you get from it? That's a dude.
Yeah, I can't tell. They're fat. But yeah, that doesn't surprise me. The hairdo's shitty. So that, yeah, I can see that. Okay.
Now on the screen, it says pride flag makes sense for math ? This is a teacher, apparently, Jack. I saw that in the tweet. So let's see what happens. I have funny videos, but I don't know if you want that degeneracy. I don't know if I want it for the show, but I definitely want it.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a high school math teacher, and I have a pride flag in my classroom. My job is to teach students math, but it's significantly more than just that. So,
what? I'm offended on so many levels right now already, because math is sacred to me, Jack.
Yeah, it would be. Fucking wizard.
It's the most logical thing in the world.
Wizardry.
And you're going to tell me how much more it has to be because of rainbows. All right.
Well, by a factor of rainbow, you can solve X. X being what are your diddlers downstairs?
This is fucked up. Go ahead.
Nah, that's all I had was just a cheap joke about people's nether regions.
some of the students that I teach might not have liked their previous math teachers, might not know how to learn math, may have never even passed a math class before. So much.
Then how'd they get in your class?
Shush.
Unless you're teaching remedial first grade math. None of them should be in your class.
No, they've never taken a math class before, and they just kind of show up and they're like, "I'm here for the math," and they're like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, okay.
Of my job is building an atmosphere and a persona that the students feel comfortable learning from me. Because with everyone,
persona?
especially
Yeah, a persona that you don't tell mom and dad about because it's your little secret.
Oh yeah, one of those personas.
No dummy left behind. True.
What do they call
this-
those? Union personas.
Is this motherfucker wearing a fake medal with the trans colors? Oh,
Yeah,
for fuck-
probably. I think that's just a pride flag lanyard that they've got some flair attached to.
high school students, learning is scary.
Learning is scary.
You've got high school students who've never passed a math class. Why is that so believable?
I mean, because they focus on this goofy political shit instead of actually teaching people.
Oh my God.
Great. Failure is tough, and failure is required to learn. I'm asking my students to be vulnerable with their failures.
And their buttholes.
I do not ever want to hear a teacher tell me that they're asking their students to be vulnerable in any context.
Yeah, the first thing you do is take your kid to a shrink and be like, I want to know if that teacher touched him.
You get a doll and like show me where. Oh, fuck.
And in order for them to be vulnerable, they have to feel safe. The pride flag is one of the many ways that I show my kids, regardless of who they are, that you are safe in my class.
What if they're afraid of gay people?
Oh, that's a good point. You're not allowed to be afraid of gay people.
But what if they are? Because
no, that's not allowed.
its job is to make them feel safe.
Nope, its job is to mandatorily make your kids feel something in the pooper.
I want the kids to feel safe too, which is why I want you in prison.
Yeah, or at least definitely not anywhere near children.
I don't even want you to be able to look at a picture of a Chuck E. Cheese.
I got a boner when I see a Chuck E. Cheese.
That no matter who you are, who you love, where you come from, you're welcome here. So yeah,
Again, a little too vague. A little too vague.
Wee bit, yeah.
think that makes sense.
No, that doesn't make any sense. When you're talking about teaching math, no, it's not about feeling safe or any of that stupid nonsense. You're just wanting to touch your children and force your little gay ideology on them. You're a horrible person, and I hope bad things happen to you. Is that wrong?
Please don't touch the children either.
Yeah, don't touch kids. For the record, I don't care if it's wrong. I was just wondering if it was.
I heard nothing. Look, I don't care if somebody's gay, but the kids don't need to know that shit. Who cares?
No.
Leave it out of the classroom. It's not appropriate for the setting.
Yeah, it has no business in schools.
Yeah, kids don't need to know what you do with your bits, okay? It's none of their fucking business. God, that's frustrating.
But I mean, it's par for the course these days, man.
Yeah, it should be though. It's gross. Stop teaching kids about your sexual proclivities, because it's obvious that for a lot of these people, it is some sort of sexual thing that they're getting off on telling other people about where they put their diddly bits.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're doing that to kids, that's creepy and weird.
Oh, I do want to talk about this briefly before we take off. I mentioned it to you last night. Bill Maher, he has a show every Friday, so there's a new rules out. And we gave him credit last week for, calling out the liberal bullshit.
Yeah.
And this week, while I really do want to give him credit for his monologue on this, I can't exactly, because his monologue is basically about tribalism and how it's stupid and makes people hypocrites. which is fair. However, to make his point, he spends most of his time talking about how Republicans do it. He brings up a couple of examples with liberals and even finishes by agreeing with something Marjorie Taylor Greene said, just to point out that you can agree with a moron, which me and him are on the same page with her.
Yeah.
But the majority of it is clearly meant just to pander to a bunch of liberals being like, yeah, those Republicans do suck. And there are enough examples on both sides of people doing this nonsense. Like, well, that person said it, so I'm against it now. And I see that far more on the left, not totally on the left, but far more on the left than I do on the right. And he had to do his pandering bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating as fuck. So just wanted to put that out there in case I'm like, Monkey likes him. I think Bill Maher is very smart, and that's what disappoints me about him, because that means he's a liar, Jack.
Oh, he's just disingenuous.
Yeah, which is a lie tactic. Let's just be clear about what disingenuous means.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah. There is one thing I would like to cover before we go. There is a link in the side chat. It's a little trip down memory lane with a newer twist.
Oh, why can't I hear this? There we go. It's Rome Girl, my favorite.
You love Rome Girl.
My retarded mommy. That's what they call hot chicks now, right? Oh,
I
mommy.
don't know.
That's creepy. I can't even do it as a joke. My retarded love interest.
It's been a while since we actually looked at one of her videos.
All right. It's a short one. Can you not? Oh, there we go.
You're not gonna always.
Fuck, that is really low. I don't know. It's up as loud as it goes, so hopefully we can hear it this time, Jack.
Tell who has only had exposure to me through YouTubers, because they come in hot like this. And I guess if you want to be reductive.
Okay, if you're just listening, and I know it's really quiet, sorry guys, nothing I can do about that. But it says, still believe the Romans weren't real. She is right that is a bit reductive. She thinks they were just circus performers.
Yeah.
She thinks they were Ringling Brothers. But anyway, who is Rome Girl? Oh,
you're new.
You're new. What is Rome Girl? The chick on the screen right there doesn't believe that Roman history is real.
Yeah, there is no such thing as Roman writing. That's just Greek.
And she even says that one time. Nothing is written in Roman. Yeah, it's called Latin, you retard.
Yeah, she said that Rome was a circus.
Yeah.
Like a literal circus, because they had the Circus Maximus.
Yep. That's all it was a circus.
Yeah, the Colosseum was apartments.
Yep, it was an apartment complex. Coins that we've found are all counterfeit, every one of them.
Yeah,
and
or they're tokens.
The entire story of Rome was made up by the Spanish Inquisition in the either 14, 15, or 1600s, depending on which time she's talking about it.
Yeah.
That is our Rome Girl.
Oh, mom millennial. Never stop being you.
Yeah, so we first found out, the first video we ever watched on her was on Pontius Pilate. And even though we have Roman records showing he was a real person, that's where she's like, no, that's all a myth made up by the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah. The writings of Cicero and all the other scholars, none of that is real. That was all written by the Spanish Inquisition. She is a treat.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, back to her. She's saying, again, guys, I wish I could turn it up, but what she said so far is that she can tell when people come in and say this, again, this being still think that Romans weren't real, that you only see me through YouTubers.
Which, by the way, we started that trend. We were like the second YouTubers to actually talk about her, and we showed way more of her videos than anyone else.
And I really do think she's cute enough to bang and dumb enough to, but I'm married, so I can't. Otherwise, I would go find this woman and we would make little baby retards.
Productive, and that's how they just explained it to y'all. Sure. The same way that, what we call Mayan culture is actually 28 different ethnic groups that the church flattened after they destroyed every book in their civilization.
I'm sorry.
Just branching out, monkey. Again, the Mayans were composed of several tribes that were conquered by the Mayans. Much like the Romans, like they had outposts because they went and conquered Gaul. So, of course, they had some Frenchies in there, which is probably why they fell. But the Mayans weren't just like one homogenous tiny city. They were an empire. Dumbass.
I mean, the Mayans had a written language, but did they have actual manuscripts?
Yeah, a lot of the manuscripts from like the Mayans and Aztecs were destroyed by the Jesuits and the missionaries in order to like accelerate converting them. So that's not entirely wrong. They didn't have a lot of writing because they didn't have a whole lot of people that could do it. It was the priest class that did it.
But these were more scrolls than like bound book.
Oh, they weren't bound books at all. They were like pieces of wood that had drawings on them, more like hieroglyphics that were like kind of loosely strung together.
All right. It was her use of the term book that just made what?
Well, I mean, you are talking about somebody that thinks that Julius Caesar worked under the big top, so
they were carvings. Yeah, that's I okay. I mean, maybe in the loosest sense of the word, they had a book where they had a couple of tablets tied together with some donkey string. I don't know.
Yeah, well, then they had like tablets, like stone tablets, that sort of thing. So that
we're not talking about the sacking of the library at Alexandria.
No, God, no, it wasn't anything that.
Yeah. Let's see. This is something. Sorry, I had to get up from my chair. If I sound far away, it's okay. You'll be fine. I need more cigarette tubes, Jack, because I'm out and I need to smoke while I do this. It's Rome, girl. It's a necessity. She has a bad habit of trying to give primitive cultures credit for shit they didn't do.
Yeah, she's making them way more advanced than they were.
Remember, Rome had because Rome itself didn't really exist, it had none of the advancements that we know from Rome. That was all stolen from, who was it that fuck. I don't remember who it was she said that most of that was stolen from. Basically, all the Arab folks that were around. The North Africans, what the British call Asians when they rape their citizens.
Yeah.
Those kind of folks. It was all them. Anyway.
Except 5. South America was not the church's first rodeo. What you guys have been calling Rome is dozens of indigenous European groups that have been flattened and their history stolen. Cope.
They were flattened and taken over by the Romans, you silly bitch.
Nope, stolen by the Spanish Inquisition, which nobody expected them to create an entire civilization that never actually existed.
So in her world, the Roman Empire, look, nobody's suggesting, even the Romans didn't consider all of their conquered land Roman people. They were in the Roman Empire, but depending on how long you've been in it and what parts of the empire you were in, you were either a Roman or you were, you were basically a worker at a Home Depot.
Yeah.
So nobody suggested that only Rome existed. We do know that they conquered, like the Gauls. I mean, basically your French/German area of Europe. Britain or England, they went in there.
Yeah, they had a very large empire. It was part of the problem when the barbarians invaded, which would be the German tribes, the Goths.
They take over North Africa, around the Persian Gulf area. They had a ton of land.
Yeah, just like the Carthaginians and the Phoenicians and lots of other empires. But the Romans were a very well organized group. They had an incredibly large empire from conquest and lots of trade routes. So it's kind of ludicrous considering all the historical evidence of them that she's trying to say they didn't exist. But hey,
the way she's saying this, it would be like saying Wisconsinites or what I shouldn't have went with Wisconsin because I don't know what they're. Michiganders don't actually exist, or Americans don't exist because we're a group of different states, and Michiganders proves that America is not a thing.
Yep,
that's retarded. God,
no,
I hate her.
That's science. She has taken down the majority of her Rome videos. I'm sure you can still find them if you look hard. Yeah, I think I might have a couple of them backed up somewhere, but I'd have to look. It's a shame though because they were so fun.
Remember the one where she told us that actually the Roman statues. Remember, Rome's not a real thing, but the Roman statues were actually of empresses instead of emperors, and that they had removable facial hair things that they used to click on it to make them look like men.
Yeah.
I love her. I love her so much. I hate that woman. Wisconsinites. Is that what it actually is? Michiganders is the correct one, Jariah. That is what Michigan folks are called, Michiganders. I don't know what people from Wisconsin are called. Wisconsonians?
Cheeseheads? I don't know.
Horribly gay people? I don't know. I don't know what they're called.
They live in the tundra.
Wisconsinite is as best I can come up with. Wisconian? There should just be one for everything. It might sound stupid, but it would at least make sense and be easier.
It would save a lot of time.
Yeah. Anyway, cheeseheads, yes, but not officially. That's like a nickname. Like here in Michigan these days, I don't know, Muslims. It's a nickname for our population. All right, Jack, we're going to wrap up here. Guys, thanks for coming and hanging out. Especially those of you who suffered through all that Biden stuff with us. God damn. I was hoping that would be more funny, but it was just sad and scary. Honestly, scary.
Yeah. That's what the world saw when the world leaders saw when they talked to him. I mean, it was probably a little more mild because he was probably pumped full of drugs before meetings, but sweet Jeebus.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Thank you so much for the donations. You guys are awesome. Michiganders, even the women? Yes, even the women. Believe me, when I first heard it, I was like, you're kidding me, right? Illinoisan, is that it? I know it's Iowan. Kentuckian, Californian, New Mexican. Should be New Mexican. I'm just saying.
In Louisiana, do they call them inbredians?
I believe it's Corruptians.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, so many of them are Ian, like Californian, but you can't do Michiganian. It just sounds retarded.
Yeah. You can do it with most states, but some of them sound stupid.
Illinoising. Nice. I thought people from Michigan were called glaive people. I don't get the joke. Oh, glove people. That's an O. Glove people. No, we don't. We only give directions with the hand. That's it.
Mostly to Canada.
Wisconsinites. It feels like that should be like a religion thing, like Mennonite. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, did
And
you
make-
see where Albertans are talking about seceding and joining the U.S.?
Yeah, they'll never let it happen, though.
I think it'd be hilarious.
It would be. What? Go fuck yourself, San Diego. I'm only reading the teleprompter. San Diego, the city that birthed me. Thanks for everything, guys. Thank you for hanging out. Jack, anything you want to show?
I dropped a link to a cool video. As always, thank you guys so much for the donations and all the support you give us. Shocked there were 200 of you, 200 plus of you watching this horrifically painful interview that even we couldn't get through the entire thing. So thank you guys for supporting us.
What was it? Alberta who wants to join us?
Yeah, Alberta.
I think we should let them join us, but they don't get to be the 51st state. They just get to be part of Florida.
I was thinking we extend Montana.
Nah, we got enough crazies up that way. I think we make them part of Florida, split that up a little bit.
North Florida?
Yeah, no. Still part of Florida.
Oh, so
Yeah.
it's like their Upper Peninsula?
Yes. And they have to build a bridge to it.
Oh my God, that'd be funny.
Guys, thanks for watching. Jack, a pleasure as always, my friend.
Always glad to be here.
Everybody take care of yourselves. We love you. See you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.
I don't have a song, but I never do. I stuck my penis in your mom.